Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 203 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Indeed, this is an Xbox podcast, and this is an Xbox podcast co-host in Lord Cognito. How are you doing today, good sir?
Yeah, everything's an Xbox these days. Everything, man. So, yeah, I'm happy to be a part of it. I guess we are classifying this as an Xbox podcast. So I'm glad to be a part of Defining Duke in the realm of the Dukes. You know, it was good, man. I got a chance to, for the first time in a while, like completely almost decompress for the week. My birthday week was last week, and I was just
How was it, sir?
It was good. It was good, man. Getting older, but I took a different approach. You know, low key, friends, family, and then I had my birthday. I did everything I wanted to do. Like I was selfish for the first time.
Yes,
I want to do this. I want to go here. And I told my friends, I was like, look, don't get mad after this. I want to do this. If you don't want no part of this, that's cool. Mm-hmm. They were like, no problem. It's all you, whatever you want to do. Went to one of my favorite restaurants in New York City's restaurant called S.T.A.L.K.E.R. And it's amazing, amazing Asian cuisine. I was next to the big Shaolin Buddha. You know what I'm saying? Lighting is good. Little celebrities in the building. It's a pop-in spot because before you get served, like, it's almost like a mini little lounge where they seat you, where you wait to get called. Mm-hmm. But the food was amazing, man. Had a little chicken sausage rice with egg, and then shrimp. You know what I'm saying? Inside they had I'm big into lettuce wraps, so like they had the lettuce wraps with rock shrimp, or you could do chicken there, and then even dessert was bomb. So I did that. Got my favorite drinks. I was in a good place. Like I was that my birthday. I needed to recover after one day though, because I went a little bit with some
okay. So you did see, because I remember your birthday story last year was way more like I went out there, went hard. Like so this year sounded different. So you did have your moment of.
I had one moment of post game because it was like pre-game, dinner, and then meet a whole bunch of different friends and family members. And then one day they was like, yo, come on, man, we got to do the shot. Like, I was like, it's tradition. We have to do it. Yeah. So then when that kicked in, I was like, oh, boy, yeah. I can only do like one of these. But that was good, man. And I didn't do ILP for the first time in a while. My brothers took over and let me rest and I played games all day. I finished games. I got things done. You know what I'm saying? So I was happy. I did everything I wanted to do. And I just thanked everybody for being like receptive to that, because a lot of people depend on me for a lot, and I just felt like it was so needed to be like, no, Cobb, this is you. We're not gonna bother you. Like I'm so used to always, not that I'm being bothered, I'm always needed. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to see the ship still go on without me and everything still be. It
makes you realize like how involved do I have to be at times. No, but happy birthday. I'm sorry I did not say it to you on the day of. I apologize. When I'm off social media, I guess but it's on me. I know Xbox Day is your day, so I'm sorry I'm late. It's your day right before my mom. I was with my mom on the 16th.
Oh, mom's a Scorpio?
Yeah.
Oh, Scorpio.
Yeah, so took her out to dinner, and that was really nice. Yeah, my mom. Thank God for my wife, because like I think I'd know this after living with my mom for so long, but like she's just realized my mom will do anything to not inconvenience people, and you kind of gotta force the point. Because like my mom was like, yeah, just come over, we'll order takeout. Like she's cool, she's total homebody. Like she doesn't want to go out and do anything crazy almost ever. But Lily's like, why don't we take her out this year? I was like, yeah. Like we took her to a nice Italian restaurant. Like you could tell this is what she wanted. Because right when I was like, we were thinking about taking out to eat, she's like, oh, where? Like, you know, she just immediately. So yeah, man, it was really nice. But I'm glad to hear you were selfish on your day, right? We talk about that. The occasional selfishness is really good for you. And so I'm glad it was a nice, seemingly more low-key birthday for you.
Yeah, for the most
part. I can tell what your vibe is based on Discord. When you're like hitting that offline wave, I'm like, Leave my man alone. Let him do his thing. When COG's online, hit him up.
Facts. Yeah, I needed it, man, just to disconnect. But yeah, it was good. It's good that because I think similar to your mother, as my innate ability as a Scorpio is to always worry about, do you need my help? And you gotta be selfish sometimes. Like, bro, you gotta help yourself. You can't be good to anyone if you're always worried about everyone else and you're not putting enough attention on yourself. And I needed that.
Good. Well, I'm glad it was an excellent birthday.
Thank you.
When Xbox dropped that ad, was that on your birthday?
I think it was when did they do it? I think because they did it the day we recorded Duke on last Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think they did it the day after. My birthday was Friday. So it was the day before my birthday they did that.
Oof. Tough.
Yeah. I was like, oh boy, this is interesting.
This birthday is an Xbox.
Clearly.
We'll talk about that. Of course, that's our lead story for the week. We'll talk about what's going on with PlayStation, potentially buying Kadokawa and what that may mean for, of course, From Software, but more importantly, the anime industry, actually. We're going to talk about Avowed a lot in this episode. We have a lot for you, so we appreciate you being here as we near the end of the year. It has been a crazy 2024, but we're happy to have you here. If you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/laststandmedia, where early ad-free access hits every Thursday. Otherwise, we're on free feeds, Spotify, which we're a partner of, Apple, Google Podcasts, as well as YouTube every Sunday. So wherever you want to participate, we're happy to have you. We'd love to hear from you. So fire away in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on the episode as we go along. I've noticed the comment boys have been very supportive as of lately.
Really?
Yeah, I've noticed that. So we appreciate the comment boys a little more this time around.
Oh, love, so love. Peace and love.
But we also got to give a round of applause to both Broderick Fleming and Sean Mason, who have great health as wealth tales to share with the realm of the Dukes this week. Broderick, you're up first. Tracking your story has been phenomenal, brother. And so here we are at the latest chapter. Hey, Dukes, the greatest accomplishment of my health as wealth journey happened Sunday night. My daughter was born and is perfect and healthy in every way. I'm sitting in the hospital room staring at the fact that I somehow brought another life into this world and will forever cherish the day I decided to turn my life around for this one moment. That's beautiful, man. Congrats to Broderick. That is beautiful.
Salute to Broderick. He had actually reached out to me on DM and was hoping that the write-in got it. So I was like, I had so much confidence that you was going to put it. I was like,
oh, of course,
this is going to be something wholesome and awesome.
Give us an opportunity to celebrate you. I don't mean that in like this, corny way, but if we can celebrate you, like we want to do that, it's important. He's like, I've just noticed some people kind of want to turn around their lives to have that moment to be like celebrated. Maybe they don't get that in their lives. So if our show can be that, it's super important. So yeah, if anyone's having a moment worthy of celebration, please write in. I'll happily include you in the show. Sorry, continue.
To the future lady of the realm, the new Duchess. You know what I'm saying? So I gave him his salutations and all of that. And good to see the writing came. Like I said, I was like, my man, Matty got this. I didn't even worry about it. I didn't have to remind. So I already knew it. I saw the note. I said, there you go.
There we go.
No doubt.
Yeah, but congrats to Broderick. Best of luck with your daughter. And it's funny. Like my friends and I were at the age now where we talk about kids all the time and stuff. And I always think like, I think if I were to have a kid, I want a daughter. I've been kind of like,
good daughter.
Because like I think that adolescent Matty, if I had a kid, I was like, son, I want a game with this kid. Well, first of all, we can forge a gamer daughter. There's no doubt about that. But I would, I'm on a roll with the corny stuff. I would love to see a miniature version of my wife running around. Just like, I think that relationship would be so beautiful to watch. And that would make me so happy. So I think about that from time to time.
I respect that.
But fuck them kids for now. I'm not interested in that. Yeah, we're not doing that.
F them kids.
Yeah.
Back on business.
Yeah. I got too much going on, kiddo. Sorry. Sean Mason, you're up next. Hey, Dukes. Woo. I wanted to share a quick health as wealth update. As someone who always struggled with being underweight, I set a goal back in March to gain 15 to 20 pounds by March 1st, 2025. So far, I'm up 8 pounds and feeling stronger than ever. As an avid runner, I've noticed a big boost in my strength and endurance. Next month, I'll be running my 6th marathon, and I'm hopeful this extra weight will give my stamina an edge to set a new personal best. Congrats to Sean. Hey, I can relate to this, dude. And one thing people don't talk about a lot, right? Like, it's easy to talk about losing weight, but gaining weight, if you're a skinnier set guy, like I was in that spot too, Sean. Not like eating disorders or anything. I know for Sean, some of his problems with gaining weight cut a little deeper, but for me, it was more just like when you start to feel your body change in that way, where it's like, what is this, man? Like, why is this moving when I'm moving? Like, what's going on there? It's like kind of mentally challenging. And I know, again, heavier set people are like, welcome to the real world. I know it's laughable, but it is like a challenge. It is, because your confidence starts to whittle. You start to think differently about your body. So I want to congratulate Sean. I know it's not easy. I know you feel those changes, and at first they're a little scary, but congrats to him.
Yes,
on a job well done.
Yeah, good dude. And every time I bump into him, whether it be at an event or Mets game or PAX and stuff like that, I know that's a big concern. And also, he's been through a lot. Remember, he had the situation. So to see him, passing and getting over these hurdles in his journey is super awesome. And being a marathon, bro, 6, like
I know,
beast, bro. The mental toughness. I always am very impressed with someone who can do that. You know what I'm saying? That it's that endurance. I call it almost like an endurance trial.
I want to try it one day, endurance a marathon of some kind, and just see how I do. I know I would fail, but like just welcoming the failure and seeing like how far do I get?
Yeah.
And because it's just people who I love running. Yeah. I don't do it anymore because of joints, like joint pain and stuff.
Joint pain.
But dude, I the other day was on a walk and I kind of just said, you know what? Impromptu stretch in the middle of the road and just got up. I was like, I'm doing a little, I'm just going to jog down the road. Like mental clarity, just started feeling better. It is a very liberating exercise for me. And I've had trouble replacing it. Weightlifting doesn't do it. I do love weightlifting, but it doesn't do it in that way. Biking doesn't do it. Swimming doesn't do it. There is something about running and that full motion of the body and just taking in the wind. And I don't know. It's beautiful though, but I miss it because it's obviously the smart thing for me to not do it, but I'm starting to work in a cheat jog every now and again, like just exceedingly rare one won't do any damage, but man, I miss it. It's great. So congrats to Sean. Hope your marathon goes well, good sir. All right, Cog. Well, here we go. Let's kick off the show in a rowdy way, shall we? Game Awards Game of the Year nominees are in. It's Astrobot, it's Balatro, it's Black Myth Wukong. I was stunned to see that one make the list, not because of quality, but because of conversation surrounding it. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree has cracked the list. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. All right, Cog. Obviously, the number one question on everyone's mind is the one that Kizekon writes in. Hello, Dukes. Hope this day finds you well. Gentlemen, with the Game Awards nomination revealed, I must come to say, stand the fuck down. Are you literally telling me that there wasn't 6 fantastic games this year to fill up the Game of the Year category? Space Marine 2, Silent Hill 2, Stellar Blade, Dragon's Dogma 2, Animal Well, Infinite Wealth, Persona 3 Reload, and so on. Hell, put Hellblade 2 in if you want, but putting a DLC in the category just feels like a slap in the face to all the developers and sets a very bad precedent for the future. Thanks and have a I can't even kind of day. So, Cog, I know we have our takes on what could have been here, the snubs and stuff. Where do you stand as an anti-FromSoft guy in a sense, right? Where do you stand? By the way, not anti like their games, just you don't play. Right. Where do you stand on DLC cracking the Game of the Year list and the precedent this sets not only this year, but moving forward for the Game Awards?
Yeah, I woke up to this news, Attic was telling me, hey, you find out what happened? I'm like, what's going on? Check out the Game of the Year awards. And I'm like, okay. And I'm looking and I'm like, oh. And I saw it. I'm like, look, first of all, let's get the elephant out the room. Shadow of the Erdtree, is an amazing expansion. I want to give complete credit. It is very transformative. A lot of people have played it. I know you've played it. Everything I hear about it, it's almost like it's a standalone game. It's so good.
Yeah.
And it does so many things to the game. So I want to be respectful of that, even though I am not a Souls guy and the From Software series, doesn't do anything for me, but I understand the impact of what this is, right? So I get it. So when I heard that, I'm like, okay, I hear that. But I think, what's my man name? How you pronounce it? Kazekon? Yeah. Kazekon hit it on the head. It's just like, at the end of the day, you are an additive part to an existing product. That's what an expansion is. That's what a DLC is. So now, again, we set a dangerous precedent. And I do feel it's disrespectful to someone who comes up with an original idea from the ground up, builds a game, and it creates this whole thing where there was no other existing part. So that's where I'm at. And I struggle with this. I struggle with remakes. I'm the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan going. And I understand Rebirth and remake to the letter of the law have been transformed if you play them, right? They're different from what the core old experience was. They made a lot of changes. But again, I look at it's a hip hop analogy I use. It's like if I remake Michael Jackson's Thriller existed. Like, let me come up with a new idea and then let that be celebrated. So I don't like this. I don't like this president. It just feels, and this is where, look, I know Keeley gets a lot of hate. I understand that job is difficult, but where he's going to get himself in trouble, are people going to say it feels like now you want to do it for, things that either you got pressured by or you like yourself. That's where those conversations start to happen. And I'm going to really push back on another thing. You know how hard I go for Destiny 2 Witch Queen, right? Mm-hmm. So think about Cyberpunk, right? Who did Phantom Liberty. Think of everybody else now. It's like, bro, last thing I'll say, just make a damn category. Yeah. It's simple. Why are we doing it? Like, because they gonna say it best. You mean to tell me no other game couldn't get that spot? No other game with the year that we've had. So ran over. Look, I will say this. For the most part, I looked at all the rest of the nominations in every other category. For the most part, I like a lot of the nominations. There were games that I'm like, yes. There goes Infinite. Well, there goes Kunitsu-Gami. I saw Tekken in the fighting. I was blown away. I was like, wow, we're actually playing games and putting things in the right category, as the cops agree.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that's just where I don't like this stuff. But ran over. Where are you at with all of this?
Yeah, I was a little torn. Like, I put it on Twitter. I was like, hey, I'm feeling a little torn on this because I think Shadow of the Air Tree is a game. Like, in a sense, like it is the size of a game, I should say. Like a way of approaching a video game, it just reminds me of that. Like, it is expansive. I put like 50 hours into it. It's really good. It rethinks a lot of the core mechanics of Elden Ring. It's better than most things I played this year, but you still have to own base Elden Ring to get to this point. And by the way, you have to beat like half of Elden Ring to get to this expansion. It's not standalone in any sense whatsoever. Like, you have to play the base game to get there. I think Elden Ring Shadow of the Air Tree deserves its flowers big time. But one thing Jeff has gotten hot water about is it feels like he compromises for his favorites. And we saw that with Kojima, where like, hey, everyone's wrapping up, but then Kojima and Peele get like 10 minutes on stage to talk about nothing. He clearly loves FromSoft. There's been big reveals involving FromSoft in his stage. Now we make the exception for Shadow of the Air Tree. You just can't argue that there is a cliquey nature to this industry and that it's a bit fickle in the face of things you see like this, where you're like, there's a legit question to be asking here. Like, how faithful are you to what makes these awards legitimate? Because this doesn't feel like the time, because there was Phantom Liberty last year was a Game of the Year quality experience. It was. Why was that not ever considered? Why? It makes no goddamn sense. I will defend Seven Rebirth personally. I think the way that Square Enix is doing it constitutes as a game. Like, remake, barely. By title alone, as far as I'm concerned, especially in the first game, I think Rebirth does walk a little bit of a similar line, but the amount of things they have to rethink when it comes to Final Fantasy VII's newest trilogy is so impressive that it's to me like Silent Hill 2. Like, it's a remake for sure, but they add so much, they rethink the gameplay so much that I know some of the groundwork and ideas are there, but I am willing to defend those types of games because I think they should be in consideration. But Shadow of the Air Tree, I mean, the other thing I'm like, dude, we're not short on DLC. Every game is getting live support. Every game's getting content and expansions. Why not create a category that kind of just lets them go toe to toe? And if Elden Ring Shadow of the Air Tree, if they go like, well, that would have been an easy win for it this year. So that's the point. They just came out swinging with one of the best ever expansions to a video game. They should just sweep it. Just like last year, we had Baldur's Gate 3. It's like, no doubter. This has to be Game of the Year. No doubter. And it was, rightfully so. So I don't really get the mindset here. Again, there's no shortage of games to fill in this slot that Elden Ring's taking up. And there's no shortage of DLC to compete against one another for its own category. So make it make sense. And I say this as someone who, in my review, by the way, was like, yo, Elden Ring's like Shadow of the Air Tree is like a game. It really is. But it was more like a representation of the idea of how big this expansion is, not to be literally sold as it, by definition, it's not literally a game. but it was a way to describe the experience and the scale and the time you'll spend in it. Like Shadow of the Erdtree is longer than most games this year. It is. There's so much there. You could spend 50, 60 hours in there. It's ridiculous. And it's excellent. And rightfully, it should be celebrated. Game of the year, though, I don't know. I think this just is opening up a whole can of worms that doesn't make sense. And I will argue that is a little bit unfair to current year developers releasing games this year, because most of them are building stuff from the ground up. Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, like any DLC or expansion worth its weight, is using assets from the base game itself, so they build quicker, they can expand quicker. And I mean, especially in a library like From Software, they have stuff dating back to their early 2000s they can pull from and update for their future games and make them bigger. So that's different, right? But this is like you're able to build so much quicker just by so much stuff being ready for Elden Ring that it definitely, I think, slants the competition in favor of one area. And it'll be a shitstorm if this thing wins. It will. Yeah. It should be, too. I don't think it will. I
mean, I would have to infer that for it to be included, that either the amount of social pressure that Jeff and the team received in reference to it needing to be included, or internally from said panel, right? It needs to be included because we're willing to set this precedent for this game. Again, an amazing game. I don't want to come off like an Erdtree hit. That game is amazing. And to your point, like you said, it has almost as hours just as much as a standalone game. And I get it. I understand why, the logic, but yeah, you said kind of, we reiterated the same point, which is kind of like, I look at, Infinite Wealth, I look at Sonic, I look at Space Marines, I look at all these other things, and I'm just like, an original idea couldn't get that spot. And that troubles me. And the last one is, I got my thought back. We're in a climate in gaming where we are in the season pass expansion DLC age. We just are. Every game that comes out, it is the expectation that at some point that will be, you will get an addition to this game, especially if it's huge. So it's like, this screams for the category even more, as a result of it. And I hope
S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, just like on their release date note, they're like, yeah, we're supporting the game for a while. Like single player games don't exist in the same capacity they used to. So again, there's no shortage of content updates.
Yeah, none. Absolutely. So yeah, it will be interesting if it does win. what the discourse will be. Let's just say.
What do you think will win?
Wow, I got to do our annual, we call it Crown Your Lord, where we predict what we think. I mean, my heart says Metaphor, and I'll get into why, but I don't know, man. Elden Ring is a cultural, it is a zeitgeisty kind of thing. And Souls games, and Elden Ring did win Game of the Year, right?
Yes, correct.
Right. Yeah. So, I look, I'm bracing myself. I ain't gonna lie. I am bracing myself.
I'm not. I'm like, there's no way.
I hope not.
No way.
I mean, I hope not. Again, it sounds like I'm such a hater for. I really am not. I just want it to be the greatest. Like you said, sweep the DLC expansion award. Or best ongoing game, or whatever
it may be.
No doubt. Saying kind of thing. But I'm bracing myself, man. I ain't gonna lie. I could see a scenario where From is on stage. And I hate to get really conspiratorial, but obviously one of the topics today will be about who will get it acquired by, and there's rumors there about people's love and affinity for certain publishers. I'm not going to go that far. I'm just telling you what the streets are saying. The streets are saying that. So if the streets are implying that, and the streets are already mad that certain titles from certain other publishers never get a nominee, there's always a reason for them not to be there. Again, I hate to go there, but when these things happen, this is what makes people question integrity, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's a red-faced moment. Let's be real. Dragon Age Veilguard, extremely high review scores. Dragon Age Veilguard also was called the BioWare's backbone at BioWare at its best. Just go look at the reviews. This game did not qualify for any category except accessibility and gaming. Yeah. And I think that's really telling of why those scores were where they were. I think a lot of these nominees are blatant admissions of how the jury views games and how they curve their scores based on situations that the industry is in. And that's why I'm kind of surprised to see the lower review scores for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. which I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, so one clearly got a curve that the other didn't
get. Yeah.
And that head scratcher into itself. But yeah, dude, I know every year this comes around and the press hand waves and goes, yeah, we just threw our ballots in and it was whatever. But it's like, stop that shit. Number one, you hold a responsibility, act like it. Number two is like, this is more important than you give it credit for. And you shouldn't be in the spot you're in if you're not going to take it that seriously.
Yeah.
And three, people clearly it creates conversation. People clearly look at this stuff and care, even though they go, oh, I'm showing up for the announcements. Game of the year matters a lot. It's a shift to the, like, saying supplemental content is the best thing we could offer in a calendar year. That's fucking ludicrous, dude. I'm sorry. It is. It could be your favorite experience. I'm not going to tell people they're wrong for that. But acting like that is it's not my favorite year for gaming, but it's a good year for gaming. Yeah. Acting like this was all we could put together, right? Yeah.
I agree. Crazy. And we have evidence with a Hogwarts Legacy not being even included in the type of year that it had. We had evidence when, Forza Horizon 5 not being included in the year that it had. There's little things. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. Again, I understand how difficult it is to have a game, and I still love the fact that it exists and it's at our Oscars. But because of the sponsorships, and I know you got to have the financial part, to pay money. I get it. You know what I'm saying? And it just feels that sometimes relationships have a lot of influence on certain things. It does feel that way. I will give them credit, though. I was surprised to see Wukong there based on it. I give them credit for it. Wukong based on Origins and the Chinese studio. I was like, let me see. Mm-hmm. So this is, at least I'll give them that. That's a positive step that we ain't going to try to, use our biases against certain things to be there. So, plus there, minus other places.
Yeah. I mean, it's a kind of catch-all list. You have the DLC, you have the remake, you have the original IP, the indie pick, a 3D platformer, and a JRPG. Like, I mean, it's a real interesting grab bag. I think looking at it, it feels to me like...
What you think, Owen? What you think? What you think's taking it?
I don't think it should, but I think it will be Astrobot.
The darling.
Yeah, I don't think it should, but I think it's still a step away from where, like, I love Astrobot, but I do think it's still like a clear step away from where Mario is, and there are some like things I thought would be evolved in a full price game in that title that weren't. I mean, that's kind of what this year is for me. Like, everything was pretty good to great, but nothing like really blew my socks off completely outside of like Silent Hill 2 and Metaphor, really.
Gotcha.
But otherwise I think it's been slim pickings where we're kind of just skimming the top of a lot of these games that are coming out. But if I were to really make a pick, it feels like it should be Final Fantasy VII's year. I really,
Metaphor gang upset with you.
I want Metaphor to win, but I think if I'm trying to pick like what are these people going to vote for?
Rebirth is
Rebirth. I feel is like the obvious choice. It's kind of has like the heart of the main heart of the story that people talk about the most when it comes to Final Fantasy VII. They did it really well. The side content's wonderful. The combat's excellent. The exploration's really good. It like checks everybody. I mean, the amount of side options that you have throughout the main story too, and like alternate cutscenes and like little choices you can make. Zack's back. You can play as Sephiroth, for God's sake. Like, I don't know. I feel like this checks a lot of boxes where I see it going in favor of that game, but
you got to beat Metaphor.
Yeah. I think Metaphor is way better, to be clear.
Yeah, we got to talk.
But I don't trust that this industry has played enough Metaphor.
You don't trust the industry has actually put in the work to... I got you. I was impressed it was not nominated, though. I was impressed. It was nominated.
Yeah. If Atlas is going to win any year, this would be the year. I mean, they've also released Persona 3 Reload at the top of the year. Like, so they're doing really good work. They should be recognized for it. Anyway, Cog, any thoughts on Game of the Year?
No, I think we nailed it with good discussion.
All right. Next up, we have a little November update for Starfield. 15 million players for the game thus far, so it's bumped up, I believe, 2 since the last statistic that was announced for it. And all of these updates are creation-focused. Creations will now be achievement-friendly if released through the Verified Creators program. The Creation Kit now provides lip-sync animation data generation for the creators so they can make more game-feeling quests, so to say. And there are 2 new free creations, including the Daymog vehicle, as well as the Perfect Recipe quest line, which is to celebrate Thanksgiving. So I got to say that, to me, actually, the real standout here is the achievement-friendly creations. That's huge. That was like the biggest bit of feedback in the system outside of its price point, is that people were like happy to pay for stuff, but they weren't going to because it disrupted their achievements. So this is huge. Very excited about this. But what stands out to you with this November update?
Gotta do a little.
Oh man, it's been a while.
Gotta do that for 15 milli. 15 milli. I can't say that's any type of failure, man. I think that's impressive.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's a failure.
Yeah, despite my feelings on Shattered Space, which we will get into. But the base get 15 million players on Xbox and PC. I want to give them their flowers on that. I was surprised to see that we got the extra vehicle. I don't know if you got a chance to check out the vehicle as far as the visual. It looked kind of cool. I'll be hopefully when the next expansion comes, then I'll try that out. Because right now, I'm saying I'm in my
we're off the Starfield for a while.
Yeah, I'm on mine right now. You got to get your act together post Shattered Space. I'm waiting for your next content drop.
I agree.
Yes.
Well, let's get into our next subject here because I got to be real, bro. Not feeling very optimistic based on the takeaway from Todd Howard. So Phil Spencer was interviewed with GameFile in their newsletter, and he was asked about Shattered Space, and he said, we're always learning, but in particular, this quote stood out to me. Todd and I were talking about Shattered Space. Starfield is a game I put a ton of hours into and really love, but they've had this thing where they've added features throughout the year and then had an expansion. I think some of the feedback on the expansion is we wanted more features, and he's like, well, should we have waited to put buggies out? And so I think you're trying to tune both development effort and impact of the expansion. And I think there will always be a balance to managing the game month to month, but not every game will do expansions. And so I feel a little less optimistic because the problem with Shattered Space really wasn't the features. It was the quality. It was number one, kind of buggy, but number two, like the writing wasn't very good. The loot wasn't good. Like, this is what I've said about Bethesda Game Studios, which is making me lose my love for their current generation because they're taking the wrong lessons out of everything. It's like, as a diehard fan of them, it's so infuriating. I wish I could be in the studio and be like, no. Like, that's not the takeaway, that we needed a buggy in this. Because quite frankly, the buggy was useless in this expansion. We need better quality work. Like, that's all it comes down to. It's not features, the impact of the expansion. Like, again, we'll go back to Phantom Liberty. What happened in that expansion? New story, new zone to explore. Like right there, as core principles.
In fairness, they had that.
Yeah, right.
They had a new zone to explore.
Yeah, it looked beautiful. But I'm saying, like, there was no like, oh, it needed features to be worth $30. It was just a really good story, adding more to the world of Cyberpunk, kind of wrapping it in a bow, like this beautiful send off to a game that really crawled itself out of a hole. And like, again, it had features, so to say, like in role playing, how they've tweaked like the leveling system. But again, going to CD Projekt Red, they overhauled with like Cyberpunk 2.0, like they did the police system, like they reworked vehicle combat, like there were features, but before that, there was so much that was overhauled where Cyberpunk was a different game before you hopped into the expansion. So I don't want to hear that. You got Microsoft in your back pocket. It's not that you put a buggy out early. The quality just wasn't there. And that's what's frustrating because they, again, since Skyrim, they just don't learn those right lessons from like what's good and bad about their games. And I think that's like the undersold part of what makes a good developer is like, even in your greatest victories, Skyrim, Bethesda Game Studios, they did not understand, I think, properly what we need to carry forward to make, Fallout 4 and 76 and Starfield click as well as they should have. So don't want to get too dramatic here, but very disappointed in the takeaway. It's not, I don't want to see less of Starfield. I don't want to see less features drop. Just, dude, like everyone was hyped because it was sold as Far Harbor, right? And Far Harbor didn't have features. It just had amazing questing and atmosphere. That's all it takes for RPG fans sometimes. So that's where I'm at. What do you make of what Phil said on Todd's behalf here when it comes to
I want you to wax poetic because real quick because I got to grab a bell. But
okay,
I'm curious. I just want you to wax poetic as far as where they stand as a studio now. As a result, because I know you are concerned. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no, you're good. Cogs grabbing a package. Yeah, so I think what made them special back then is they didn't puck around. I don't think they are right now, contrary to popular belief. I don't think they're walking around like their shit doesn't stink. But I do think Bethesda knew their strengths and leaned into them greatly. They have lost some of the key talent that I think made them special. Like losing Jeff Gardner was huge. Like this guy was responsible for kind of putting 76 on track in the way that it would have Wastelanders and become this more single player oriented Fallout game that people can enjoy now, myself included. Like that is a huge change. And to lose that talent is big. They lost also Nate Perkypile, who is a more recent addition in the scheme of things, but fantastic art director. And I feel like his hand is going to be missed. So they've lost key talent along the way, but they've also managed to retain a lot of that talent where it feels like either A, they need some new blood to kind of rethink what makes Bethesda Game Studios great with a more intimate understanding. Because I feel like they've almost been in the thick of it for so long that they've lost sight of that stuff. Like when you look across Morrowind to Oblivion to Fallout 3 to Skyrim, they all share a similar DNA. But then all of a sudden with Starfield, Bethesda's response is like, well, we're happy that Starfield is different and has its own identity. They kind of, I think it's just PR speak for let's create the separation and make it sound positive because people don't like this as much and make sure that we don't create concern for the big one in Elder Scrolls 6. But I think when you look at the shared identity of, first person exploration, interactive environments, skill checking, choice and consequence, that is what defines Bethesda games. And as they started to walk away from that and go more shooty looty in Fallout 4 and 76 and Starfield, they started to lose people even like me, which I think says a lot. So I think that's the difference there. Now that you're back, Cog, let's get some thoughts from you on the takeaway for Shattered Space.
Appreciate y'all to be down. Look, I think that I'm with you because I think that the issue comes down to, it's going to be tough to say, but when I get into what I've been playing recently, it shows that your competitors have now usurped you. And I hate to say it because I don't want to be disrespectful. Making games is hard. And these guys have made some of the best experiences I've ever played, in my life. The Oblivions, the Fallouts, the Skyrims, changed my life. But I have to be real. It's when I boot up, other games, I'm going to comment on the Black Rock in a minute. I'm going to comment on Larian in a minute. You feel it, bro. You feel it with the dialogue. You're like, man, this is way more impactful. Yeah. It's, you know what I mean? The consequences, the stakes, and I just feel like sometimes, again, when I'm playing a Starfield, sometimes I am going through the motions of the dialogue as opposed to like everything kind of matters, kind of thing. And I'm not saying the quality of the voice acting is going down. They still got good things that they do, but, it's a combination of the competitors and then also, graphically too, right? We got to talk about that, performance and things of that nature. So back to the overall point. When you say, hey, we should have launched this with maybe the buggy or features like that. Look, I get it to an extent of they're internalizing it like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have spaced that out, give them everything at Shattered Space, and then it would seem more complete. But you still miss the core of what the message is and what the criticism is. The criticism is people don't feel the quality bar is as good as your past work, and you have regrets. So I hope that they don't think this is just a feature situation, and you just gotta, and it's beyond features. Also, like you said about Cyber, sometimes you gotta transform and enhance that core experience and reform that, like you said about 2.0 and things of that nature with the police system and stuff like that. Sometimes, and again, maybe in the roadmap, they didn't have that for Shattered Space, but I will say after this lashing that you've took, one would hope that you take your time, whatever the next is. We know that, obviously you were blessed to get Todd. We know that they have more content on the road. If it was scheduled for 2025, maybe you take that year off and really dig down deep to the core issues. People wanted space exploration. The fact that we didn't get a Varun spaceship and, it's just basic that we didn't really explore off of this.
Give you a player home, bro. Like, I'm just like, who the fuck? Like, what do you guys think? People, it's the settlement fixation I always talk about. People are like, no, I disagree. Like, I hope Elder Scrolls 6 has settlements. I'm like, no. They put so much emphasis and focus on it that it's bad for the game. To the point where they think their best quest reward is a player home. Yeah. And it's like that used to be part of the progress of a Skyrim. Like you would go through the game, you'd earn your money and buy a house. And like that was part of the package. Now it's a quest reward. It's like, no, this is not It's like it's the unique weapons and armor. It's like that's what people are looking for.
Bro, I like again, landing in Shattered Space, landing in Varunkai, and a Crimson, what is it? Base is like literally a couple of blocks down, and this is supposed to be the uncharted, no one's ever been here planet, right? Then you go down into sometimes this deep warehouse, and I get a very generic, random gun that's not unique based on the level of things I've done. You know what I mean? It's starting to add up, and they what is that? What's that expression like? You're very wide, but you're not deep.
Wide as an ocean, deep as a puddle.
That's what I'm starting to feel. And again, we talked about the ending, and I was just like, bro, none of this really mattered in the grand scheme of things. You know, it didn't affect anything. And that's not the Bethesda I know. You know what I'm saying? I'm from, what was it, in Fallout in Nuketown, and this whole joint, remember?
Oh, Megaton. Yeah.
Megaton, excuse me. Megaton.
I was thinking of Black Ops. I was like, wait,
sorry. I was in my Call of Duty bag.
No, you're good.
Remember Megaton?
Oh, dude. Iconic.
Bro, that's Bethesda.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So we know they're the gods. They're the guys that set the trends for us, the rest to follow. And now the rest have followed and now have done this. So, and like I said, we're going to talk about the Black Rock today. You know, so I got things to say.
Yes.
So that's where I'm at. And I am hoping that is the top level corporate speak, you know, and that on a core level, you just hope the humility is there to really take the feedback and say, all right, you know what? We got to get back to the drawing board. We got to take this feedback. It's not about just the ships. It's not about, not about just the buggy. It's about, people didn't like this.
Yeah.
It's not just people just hating
simple, man. Like
we liked your base game.
Yeah,
he ain't like that.
That was the worst thing too. Is like what came out of it was like, oh, it's bad because it's more Starfield. I'm like, no, dude. Like I think base Starfield was way better than Shattered Space. Way better. I played it again like that, man.
Yeah, way better, bro. There was two or three quests that I'm like, this was amazing. We didn't get anything like this in comparison to Shattered Space.
Yeah, it just felt. I'll keep an open mind for expansion 2 strictly because I am still a believer that this is cut content that they tried to repackage and sell, and it was a bad choice to do that. And so I'm hoping that expansion 2 is really the thing that they've put time, effort, resources into. And I don't know, man. I'm pulling for them. I really hope it's great, but it just that feedback, I was like, that's not the problem. That is not just me speaking. Go read the Steam reviews, read the user reviews. The fact that a buggy was there early was not the problem, because again, I frankly think the buggy was useless because of the way you can jetpack around the entire world. It's that launch stung, man. That one hurt.
Absolutely.
But what stings for people who like to fly planes is Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 with a chaotic launch thus far. So there's infinite loading screens. There's people who had the loading screen up for like 11 hours straight as of the moment of recording and got to play for like an hour. And there's been a statement made by Microsoft saying, we are aware of users reporting long initial loading times into Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. With so many users initializing the sim concurrently, we have a large number of server requests. We are working to help resolve the issues as soon as possible. For users whose initial load is past 90% and no longer processing, we recommend a reboot. Otherwise, we advise waiting to allow the loading to proceed as normal, end quote. This demanded a response out of Asobo where they're like, man, we didn't really expect this. And they were apologizing for it. But the game is currently rated as overwhelmingly negative on Steam. And I think it'll get out of that hole because it seems like underneath this crap is a really great game, but pretty disastrous launch, man. Pretty controversial launch. Did not expect this to be the headline for this game. So what are our thoughts on what's going on here with Flight Sim 2024, Cog?
Yeah, this was surprising. One, because I'm almost treating it like a online live service game launch, right? Mm-hmm. And the thing that bugged, I'm gonna tell you what was the real head scratcher for me. I went to download it yesterday, right? I'm like, wow, Flight Sim is only like 10 gigs or 15. Why is it so small? Remember the first Flight Sim?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, that joint was like 150 easy. Yeah. Like your whole Series S, your whole drive was done if you try to do that joint. So I'm like, that's interesting. So I download it. I'm like, all right, let me see. So I got some like waiting screen, and it's going to tell me I'm going to be in a queue. And again, that's typical live service fare where it's like, okay, there's too many players in. We're going to queue you up. So clearly, it feels like some type of offloading to a cloud server to get you even into the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, again, this ain't my first rodeo, Matty. I'm like, you know what? I done been through Destiny launches, 3-4 hours. Day one is always crazy. I ain't gonna go crazy. Matty, I took a shower. I went out. I moved my car. Bro,
you just lived your life?
4 hours. I came back. Not only was my screen in the same spot, it didn't even tell me you, like most games be like, yo, you are now 10,000 or something in the queue. So at least you get the progression. Bro, this thing said 0. Like I just started. I'm like, oh no. Like, and this is like 3 hours I left it. I was like, nah, I said, all right, we'll try later that night. 11 o'clock. All right, you figure maybe I saw the statement, something about the cache and reboot your machine. Cool, did all that. Same thing. I was like, oh no, this is an awful day one. Like, this is horrible. I've never seen.
Just straight up unplayable.
I couldn't get into the game. I got to the title screen and then boom, that's it. Then I saw some clips of people that were in and things weren't loading. And I was like, damn.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like they some of, and then in some of entitlements as far as like, because the game supposedly recognizes if you play, because I finally got in now today, got in. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, cool. And I was just about to start the career mode, but I was like, obviously it's time to do the show. So it's like, now it's too late. But
you should have stayed logged in.
No, bro, I left it long. You did. Yeah. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I left my joint. I am holding server space. I am not losing my spot in here, man. So yeah, it's unfortunate. The shame about it is Flight Sim is generally, I can only talk about the last one. I don't want to talk about the new one until I fully played it. But generally, what is Sobo, the game itself, the quality bar is extremely high. And I was really looking forward to this one because this is the one where you could go outside the play. And remember, they gamified it. There's more things you could do.
Yeah, I was really interested.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to talking about it on Duke today, but I couldn't play at all. So, yeah, they got to get it. And I thought what was interesting is that when they put out, you could tell that the developers, they under the heat right now. So because like they try to talk about a solution, and you can tell in technical terms they trying to figure it out. And then I looked, they like disable the comments. Yeah, because they know the fire was there. Like I saw the Steve was what was it? Like you said, it was
overwhelmingly negative.
Overwhelming.
Like the lowest you could be, yeah.
Yeah. So people literally can't play. And I do listen, I'm an IT guy. I'm very understanding for the most part when, day one live service. But I've never seen a situation where literally no one can get in for a full 24 hours, it felt like.
Feels ill-prepared almost,
Yeah, like they were completely blindsided, I get the sense.
You think it was like just they had way more players than they thought they would? Like, I don't know if that's the silver lining for them in all of this.
It's a catch-22 about it because there's a part of me that then it's like, look, you're Microsoft, though. You're Azure, right? And I get it. IT is not as simple as just flip the switch. I know I don't want to sound like that guy because I am an IT and I have so much empathy, but it's clear as day they were not prepared for this level of off. And I don't know if it's now the new strategy, right? With Steam, Windows 11, Game Pass, and these users came to play. So maybe that's just they just weren't prepared.
Yeah,
they said something about a caching issue or something, and I don't know, bro.
It's quietly one of Xbox's like biggest games of the year. Like I know it's not the big, exciting, sexy game, but like it sells a lot. It gets a ton of players. I mean, it got a sequel for, if you will, for God's sakes. Yeah, dude, it's a huge game. So I just wonder if like the excitement and the player count was going to be considerably higher for this one. And so disappointing to see, but hopefully they get out of this. And I'm curious if the game is good underneath it all. It looked good.
That's what I'm curious about. It looked good. I was literally just about to start. I was making my creative actually had a deep creative character, not deep, but decent, creative characters. They used an AI in the voices. I was like, because the game, you could pick the voice. Here, but I ain't go for this part was kind of cool. I know you don't like AI voice. I had to fix your face. I know where you about to go. All I will say is, how most games, they let you pick voice tone or voice, like a female voice, a tougher male voice, a lighter male voice. So I'm going through the voices, right? So, they're saying basic flight stuff, prepare for takeoff while you pick it, whatever. Then one said, such and such, all right, Lord Cognito. And I'm like, whoa, voice 3, what you do? And I went back. It was like, hey, Lord Cognito. And I'm like, yo, the AI is in. Damn. So I was like, I go front. Kind of fire.
Kind of cool.
That part was kind of fire. And I know when I started the career, you got to pick an airport and, or shut up. They missed opportunity. How I can't pick Newark Airport? How come I can't pick Kennedy, LaGuardia? Come on. Let me pick a home airport that's from a big one. I had to pick someone in Long Island that was mad deep. But anyway, when you start the career, they had a dude talking to you, like to get your career started. And it did sound like it was all AI generated. I'm guessing, but it feels like an AI generated voice game for this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this game probably just has the AI stink on it. Over server side game. Like I'll play it anyway at some point, but yeah. Thank you for alerting me to that.
I'm just guessing it's not this is how it felt to me. I gotta play it and put it through its pace and do my research and see what the whole thing is. But it felt good, but I can't comment on it until I really play. So
well, next up here, Cog, Atomfall, which we got to check out when we went to the Xbox Gamescom in LA event, is getting a release date for March 27th, 2025. No.
Enthusiastic? What happened? You're not happy for this release?
This felt like it needed like another year when I played it, dude. Like I was just like, this is not ready at all. So I wait with bated breath. And I await bad news at launch, personally. The idea is cool. Very Stalker Fallout kind of coded. It's got a little UK vibe. Like I got those telephone booths. There's something. I mean, I would say now after playing Stalker 2, it's more Stalker than Fallout. It's got more of that hardcore gunplay, but the AI was so bad. So bad. The combat wasn't good. Like there was again, this game probably needed a year. Like it just felt like it was not close to ready. They were kind of like, hey, let's feel some things out. But since this is releasing at the end of a quarter, kind of smells to me of like, hey, let's get that ROI, see what we can do with what we got here, because we're not spending more money on this thing. And there you have it. Atomfall, March 27, 2025. So pulling for him, but I'm not feeling great. What are you thinking for Atomfall's release date?
Graphically, it looked good.
Yeah.
I will say that it was a very good looking title, but just like you said, the AI, and then I had some issues, with I had some save point issues, like when you die and then they spawned me like right back in the mix, getting assaulted. And I was like, yo, what's going on with this spawn kind of thing? So, I still think a year they still could have fixed a lot by that time. So I'm gonna try to be a little bit more optimistic with March. But yes, what we currently played, I believe at the Gamescom LA event, it needed more time from an AI standpoint, spawn standpoint, kind of thing. So I'm hoping that, by then, because we saw that June? I'm gonna be optimistic.
No, it was August. It was August.
When we saw it was August. We saw it. I'm bugging. You're right. It was after
End of
E3.
August.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You are correct. It was August.
7 months.
7 months. Man. Might be able to work some things out. We'll see. I'm gonna be hopeful. I'll be hopeful.
Yeah. I mean, look, man. Stalker 2 was buggy in its preview, and it was buggy at launch. So I mean, there's that to kind of go against it, where I'm like, I don't know if you really iron it all out, but if it's playable and kind of has that enjoyable jank, maybe it'll be fun. But I'm not. As someone who I feel like Atomfall was made for a person with my taste in mind, I'm like, yeah, quality's not there. But I'll keep an eye out. Like they just did a release date trailer, and it was just like panning the environment. They showed no gameplay, so they're hiding it, bro.
I defer to you if you saw that.
Yeah, it's not a confident look, so we'll see. This one is exciting. Assassin's Creed Syndicate gets a next generation patch adding 4K and support and 60 frames per second for all consoles, including, of course, Xbox. Scuba Vendor writes in, hey, Dukes, can we talk about Ubisoft's surprise this week in dropping a next-gen patch for Assassin's Creed Syndicate? Didn't expect them to do this, and certainly not to give it away for free. Seems like a sort of thing that would have been done with a bit more work and sold as a remaster at full price. Either way, I wanted to go back to this game for some time, but it ran at sub 30 and seemed impossible. What are your thoughts on this? Can we expect a little more token of good faith from Ubisoft in this new age. Love the content from the UK. Thank you, Skooma Vendor, for writing in. This is awesome. We'd love to hear this. Look, I have found a new age of excitement for Assassin's Creed Syndicate. This was one of the Assassin's Creed games that, straw that broke the camel's back moment for me. I remember reviewing it. You could go find it on my Mr. Matty channel. It's like, I think it's called Assassin's Creed Syndicate, same old, same old. And it's there. I'm just like, yeah, not really. Like they marketed it as like big changes to the combat system, for example, but it wasn't that much. And then I forgot about kind of the things it did in the mess of all the Assassin's Creed stuff that would come out afterwards and obviously beforehand. But Unity, I look at very favorably. I had a good experience with Unity during my review period. I fell through the map like once, but I didn't have the plethora of game-breaking bugs that other people had. I had a really good experience with it. I loved its open-ended level design, its open-ended choice that you'd have in like taking on missions. I kind of thought it was a one-off, but I forgot that they used that tech to build Syndicate. So when I went back for an Assassin's Creed retrospective for Syndicate, just for all of the Assassin's Creed games, but one of them was Syndicate. That was the one I played the most of when I was capturing gameplay for that video, because Syndicate, I was like, oh my God, dude, I fucking love this. Like, the gang warfare is awesome. The moving train hideout is actually so sick. Like, download the game just to check that out. The combat is this kind of samey old Assassin's Creed stuff. The animations are impressive. The mini games in the world are really cool. They have gang warfare. You can go to World War I and experience this whole other campaign for Assassin's Creed. That's really cool. The DLC, like Jack the Ripper, is really great. There's a lot here, man. It's got that open-ended design. It's got that parkour that's from Unity, so it's got that going for it too. Like, there's a lot here that is excellent. It's aged really well. The story really hasn't, but like, this is the Assassin's Creed game that you can use guns in, so you can just options of approach aplenty. It's great. I really do recommend people check it out. Like, I was definitely, in fairness to my review, it was at a time where Assassin's Creed was like, we got 3 within that year. We got Rogue, Unity, and then in 2015, we got Syndicate. So the burnout was at an all-time high. For a lot of people, they were like, great, more of this. I love it. But not for me, at least. However, away from all of that, seeing where Assassin's Creed stands now and kind of learning to appreciate the older stuff, I do think Syndicate is really great. Even if the story doesn't do much for me, I don't like the Fry twins at all, frankly. But the world is wonderful. The parkour, you get like this zip line that you could just jump across huge stretches. Like, these streets are massive. The people that fill them are massive. It is a very impressive game world just to look at, like the things you'll climb on top of and the amount of boats moving down a river, carts moving down the road, people interacting. It is like one of Ubisoft's best worlds, really. When I looked at it, I was like, damn, man, like, I feel bad about my initial review, but I felt I did right some wrongs with like my retrospectives. And I do want to do like a dedicated AC Syndicate video at some point. But man, oh man, so impressive nowadays, I feel. And so, yeah, I recommend people check it out. This patch is really good news.
That's dope. I got to check out your video. I love that concept of retrospective, because I feel like there are games that in the moment we don't necessarily appreciate. And then you look back and like, yo, they were doing some things here, man.
It's a valuable lesson to learn as a reviewer. It really is, because then you look at games moving forward differently. You're like, okay, am I in the heat of the moment? How will this feel years from now? And so it was good perspective to earn there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you're hitting a major point there.
No, you added on perfectly. And I think that I know why I didn't play it, because you nailed it. I was like, I had so much burnout. That was when they were becoming Madden. Yeah. And it was Assassin's Creed every year, bro. And I'm just like, okay. And then I remember some of these games at the time of launch, performance was issued. They were big issues. I remember it was the Unity and stuff like that. So now looking back to see it get a 4K 60, I'm like, you know what? Man, to see what's going on over there. I never played that. Never even attempted it. To hear you kind of rave about it definitely, piques my interest. So this is really good to see and hear from you, now going back to it, looking at it and see what's going on. Now, obviously this patch is 4K 60. It's a beautiful thing. So that's awesome that they added that.
Definitely want to check it out at some point this year and just kind of dabble in the world. Because when I fired up Assassin's Creed Syndicate and I was playing it on my PS5, like, I just wrapped up all of the gang wars that I missed and like got some trophies, and I was like, damn, I kind of want to like platinum this or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's a great game. Check it out if you're interested in a good open world title. You're not there for the story of the characters. They're not awful, but like, it's not what's going to draw you. But again, that moving train hideout is I hate to sound like a fucking millennial. It's such a vibe though. It really is, dude. Like the way it's decorated, the fact that you can hop on this thing in real time at any moment. It's such an underrated feature with the game. It's so good. So yeah,
that was dope.
Definitely check it out, y'all. All right. Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. We got bad news for you, Cog here. Capcom has revealed that it's failed to hit its sales target due to insufficient marketing and a failure to generate buzz prior to launch. And as of yet, Game Pass has not been mentioned as the reason for its current failure. But they're not giving up. They said they're going to continue to advertise its sales, that sort of thing. So they're not abandoning it, which is good. Capcom certainly makes enough money to kind of invest some more resources in getting this thing going. Yeah, what do you think of this, man? This is your game for sure. Didn't hit its sales targets, which is disappointing to see. Didn't feel like it had that buzz for sure, despite it being really good. The reviews came out and those were strong. Like, I feel like it did all it really could do. It just sometimes I think it comes down to a name, bro. I really do. As a lover of Octopath Traveler and triangle strategy, sometimes all you need is a name that is not, here's one. Hold on. There is a recent Atelier Ryza. Yeah. This is 2019. Atelier Ryza, Ever Darkness, and the Secret Hideout. It's like, you just don't get a vibe of like what that is about. So, not to dog on this game, maybe it's good, but my point being is that I think Japanese titles have been struggling a lot with naming conventions, and I do think it's resulting in a lack of sales. Like, you just can't look at that and go, I know a Kunitsu-Gami. Some people could probably barely pronounce that. Path of the Goddesses. Now, Cog, with all of this in mind, thoughts on it not hitting its sales target?
It was sad. Obviously, I love this game with all my heart. Y'all know this. Like, and shout out to Colin, shout out to Hogue. We did a Sega Symbols Plus, and spoiler cast on it, and we wax poetic, and we talk about how, like, just for this game to exist is something special. We don't see anything like this, and even shout out to me and Colin talking. If it wasn't for Xbox, this game wouldn't have been funded. Like, they helped partially fund the game to get it across the the finish line, and then it allowed them to be more bold with the boss choices, the style, the overall game's color palette, the boss design, which I think the boss design in this game is amazing stuff, man. So the genre of the game is unique. It's not even, there's nothing that exists. It's called a Kagura strategy game. There's no such thing as another Kagura game. Like, it's the first in its thing. So yeah, man, it's sad that it did. What I'm gonna say is that, as far as the marketing, I think the elephant in the room, people are like, yo, it was in Game Pass, what happened, that kind of thing. I think it's a combination of two things. I think one, it's so unique, it's so different. People didn't know what it is. So you had some people coming in, let's be honest, I got fooled. Some people coming in thinking that this is a pure action game. Because I remember the first trailer of it, you see, you know what I'm saying? The Protector, you like, oh, this is going to be just action, whatever. And then there's a lot of people, let's be honest, that still get turned off by, turn-based aspects of the game. This is a unique kind of a game in that respect. Then also from a narrative standpoint, I mean, I spoke to Attic, who likes turn-based, and for whatever reason, he was like, Cog, I'm dropping it. I was like, wow, like, you ain't like, he's like, something's not clicking for me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I think it's a combination of that and including the marketing and stuff like that. I just wish that was a little bit more bold, but I will never fault them, because at the end of the day, they took a risk on something extremely unique. Yeah. And we never see games designed like this. And it's a beautiful game. So I like that you said in the statement, they said they're going to continue to try to market it.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to try to continue to market it. I don't know how heavy it'll be, but they're not just dropping it, it seems. Like, oh, it failed, so. Whatever. Like, so maybe it's closer to that kind of mark that it needs to hit.
Yeah, also, and then if they want to add more post-game support or, content, I'm definitely for that. So we'll see what happens.
Right on. Well, this story here, speaking of sales, dude, I love that we actually get to lay eyes on this here. Remedy shared how many copies Control 2 and Firebreak would need to actually break even. And this is with their big self-publishing push. And we even get an idea of what the budget of Firebreak and Control 2 are. Like, no doubts whatsoever. It's here in a statement that they were making to investors. It's an investment-focused meeting. And so it shows here that the budget for Firebreak is $31.7 million. It's going to carry a mid price point. So, maybe it's going to be like $30 or $40, something like that. And that for it to get 100% return on investment, it's going to need to sell 3 million copies in its lifetime. Meanwhile, Control 2 is being defined as an action RPG, which I think is a big evolution based on what I've seen of that game and heard about that game. And its budget is going to be $52.9 million. And its price point will be a AAA game, so full price, $70. Who knows, maybe even $80 by that point. And it's going to need 3 to 4 million copies to sell and to hit that 100% ROI. And this is just something I've been asking about for a while with these developers. I'm like, how much are you spending? Like, just give people an idea of like how much is going into these games. And so to see a top AAA developer kind of lay out there, by the way, it's not like they're putting a statement out to their customers, but we could all see it. Yeah. But putting out there like, yeah, Control 2 is going to be a $52.9 million budget. Just looking at that game and seeing like, this is what 50 plus million looks like, and just knowing for sure. I don't know. I found it very exciting just as someone who's like an enthusiast in the industry. And so that probably can color a little bit of what we talked about last week with Alan Wake 2, which sold 1.8 million copies thus far. It still hasn't turned a profit. So maybe it's also in that maybe needs like 2.5-3 million to break even. So, Cog, what are your thoughts on this data we got here on Remedy? They've been the talk of the Dukes as of lately these past couple of weeks. So what are we thinking about this?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm doing New York Game Awards this year, and Sam Lake will be receiving the Legend Award. So we get a chance to talk.
Award.
Yeah, get a chance to talk to him. And obviously, I won't get too deep in the weeds with this. It's obviously secretive information, but it sheds a light, right? Finally, we get to see, okay, how many, first of all, investment, these budgets, bro. Budgets. Like, wow. It's really, these budgets are really big, and then it's going to show how much you need to get that 100% ROI. And yeah, 3 million, for a lot of these games, either with mid-price price point or a AAA game price point with the $70 or plus, for them to kind of get there. And I think it puts in perspective, as far as like we always talk about like game prices, right? How much games should cost and stuff. That's one aspect. But also how many units are actually needed for a game to be a success. That is very key data, very good information to parse. And it's cool. I'm glad you put me onto this, that we got a chance to see this, especially Remedy, because Remedy, we always talk about them, right? That these single player, they're kind of low key that hashtag just one studio, right? They literally make nothing but these high performant third person over the shoulder narrative, super high graphical experiences. They do expansions here and there, but for the most part, they're not like this. I would consider them a microtransaction heavy kind of a thing. So this is interesting, and for them to try to survive in today's climate, how much they need to sell. Yeah, that is very interesting to me.
Yeah. So definitely numbers worth keeping an eye on as Remedy continues to make shrewd business moves. All right, Cog. Next up here, Embracer Group is continuing to plummet. We have some information on recent sales and how they've performed as a company as of lately. Embracer bought the Tolkien IP, as many people know, in 2022 for $395 million. And they said that Return to Moria, the recent Lord of the Rings game, performed slightly above management expectations. They also said that it's been a slow quarter year on year with no notable new partner releases. That's a tongue twister. But they are expecting a lot of film revenue because the Lord of the Rings anime film, War of Rohirrim, is coming out soon. And that looks really good, by the way. So I'm very excited for that. But they're noticing some traction on that. Their biggest release for PC and console games was Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed, which they said was received well by players, but initial digital sales were slower than expected, whereas Satisfactory 1.0, which I didn't know they had their tendrils on, but they do, performed above management expectations. Obviously, we know they've gone through a lot of different layoffs, including they also sold off Space Marine 2 developer Saber Interactive, but they also just sold off mobile puzzle game developer Easy Brain to the company known as Miniclip for $1.2 billion. So at least the company did not get shut down there. But they've mentioned that they are pinning a lot of their hopes on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is coming out February 11th next year. They still have 4A Games developer as a developer underneath their stable, who does the Metro series. But they said, quote, over the past 15 months, we've created a strong foundation for long-term value creation, lowering our net debt and our capex. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. We have many high-performing and efficient companies, several with industry-leading margins. However, we acknowledge that parts of our PC, console, and entertainment and services segments are still underperforming due to delays and low return on investment for primarily small and mid-sized releases. Combined with fixed operating costs, this creates unacceptable margins, which we are firmly addressing ahead of the spin-offs, end quote. All of this comes from an article by IGN. So, Cog, what do you make of where Embracer Group stands right now?
Mixed bag.
Yeah.
Mixed bag. And a lot of they control a lot, and a lot of IPs that, especially like the Lord of the Rings stuff, you realize, you think, man, it should be, so much bigger than what it is. I don't say it was scary, but I thought it was interesting. They pinned so much on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, performance. That's going to be big. And we have to be honest, like, I love Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I think the numbers came out with the initial one was like, what, 8 million?
8 million.
Really, really impressive. I do think that that's a tough month. February is a brutal month, and we know about, the murderer's row that's dropping there. It's just, again, I get it. We're getting the transparency of what's going on as far as what's underperforming, what's not. But my overall theme with them just seems to be, I don't know what the long-term strategy for them would, in this case, acquiring all of these properties and all of these studios and stuff like that. I just don't see it, and I am concerned. Obviously we had some spin-offs. Update Space Marine, they sent over. Don't know what the play is. They're not a platform holder, so to speak, and they got a lot of IPs, but I don't have a lot of confidence in what's going on over there. I just got to be honest. Like, I don't know what the direction is here. I don't know what. I guess my confusion with them is with the initial plan. We're going to get all of these things to do what, and that's where I struggle, because I'm just like, where's the vision? And then we had the early flops, and I remember what was the big one? Was it Saints Row? And remember that one? I think it was that studio. Like, they've got some big IPs, bro, like huge IPs, and it's just like, I don't know if it's the culture that, because you're not inherently, gaming centric, that you can't replicate past successes. I don't know what's going on internally, but it don't feel good, so I don't like studios getting shut down. I know that part. So we'll see what happens. I'm pulling for them, but I don't know. What you feel?
Yeah, I hope that this. It seems like the bleeding is slowing down, but that they're not done making cuts yet. Getting $1.2 billion for a mobile developer probably will help stabilize them a lot, because now they can invest that where they think the real money is. Again, I think they got the Tolkien IP and whatnot for a really good price, all things considered. They can make a lot of that money back if they speed things up on Lord of the Rings. But that's kind of what we were saying when they bought a lot of Western stuff, when they bought like Eidos Montreal, and they had their hands on like so many. They had Saber Interactive with the Star Wars deal. I was like, damn, dude, like Embracer Group's just got their fingers in everything. Like, they kind of took the Tencent approach in a weird way. Just, they were all over the place, but we see how quickly the rug was pulled out from under them because their publishing quality was lower. So I think they're learning a similar lesson that Ubisoft is learning, and just that quality's got to come first, and maybe they'll get out of this hole. So we'll see. Last little bit of news, not much to say on this, but just in case anyone's interested, Dynasty Warriors Origins got a demo. It's out on November 22nd. So by the time most of you are listening, because our show drops the day before this, you'll have your hands on that demo for the weekend. So you can go ahead and, it's out beyond the weekend, but you can check it out then if you are interested. So yeah, I'll be probably skipping on it because it's just, we're 2 months away and I feel pretty sold on that game. But in case anyone is unsure and wants to look at it, you can go ahead and do so. All right, Cog. Time for the main event. What we are playing. Let's go with you first, because you have a completed video game that we'd love to get some thoughts on, sir, because you were swindled last week, but now it's done. So let's hear from you.
Oh, this game broke me so many times. This game, shout out to Atlas, shout out to Studio Zero, but Metaphor ReFantasio. I felt like how a Souls player felt at sometimes. Like, yo, you get to that, but you're like, man, come close to beating one of those Souls bosses, and you're just like, I don't know, man, if I could do this thing. The failures start to mount up. You start to question yourself. So I told y'all about, the difficulty spikes and stuff like that with, last time. And then, I got towards the end of the game, and man, this was some challenging stuff. But what I did is said, okay, I'm going to take a different approach, and I'm going to grind. I'm going to sit in this dungeon. And basically the beauty of Metaphor is that in the open world, right, before you enter a turn-based situation, if the enemy is of level or at level, you hit them a few times in open world combat, and then you get the stun mechanic to start, with you an advantage.
Yeah.
As you continue to level and you hold down left trigger, and Galaga will go, hey, they don't look strong at all. And then they'll go from, a yellow being at level to blue being, you could just one-hit kill them. You don't have to go through a whole turn-based battle with them. Yeah. And I said, I'm going to stay in this last area, and I am going to grind, because what the beauty of the game did, the game did something finally fair, where it was like, yo, this is the point of no return. However, you could go back in the ship if you want, catch a little brief Z's real quick. And I was like, oh, all right, finally. You know what I'm saying? I can try to be here. But they do it for a reason. Because that last stretch, man, you are going to fight some things. This is a very boss-intense game. And they love to show you more bosses. They like to show mechanics and different spins on things. And the lead up to the final entity, and I'm going to stay spoiler-free because I know you're on your way, was intense, but impressive. So I get there, and now it comes down to, okay, this boss. And again, I don't want to spoil, but this boss, there's a lot to this boss. That's what I'll just say. There's a lot going on here, right? So the first aspect is what's effective, what's working. And then once you get that, the boss is like, okay, let's go for real now. Now you get to see me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that was when the humbling started.
Uh-oh.
And it's a two-parter, and it's no joke. Yeah. This again, I talked about I still will rank the optional one just a slight edge, but this is tough. This is just as tough. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh man, what am I gonna do? And I had to look at team composition. And I was like, Stroll, you the homie, but I don't know if you right for this one. I don't Heisman, you the homie. I might have to put you on the bench. Yeah. And there was someone. I came through with a couple people that I was like, if it wasn't for you, you were the difference maker. I don't know if you have certain characters yet.
So I'm not going to say the same for.
Yep, I'm not saying anything. There was a certain character I was like, I really don't use. I don't use you a lot, but I think, and I figured out a strat. This exhausted every aspect of turn-based knowledge, every aspect of their mechanic knowledge, in order to try to stay in them. And again, when I'm telling you I'm beating these things, Matty, I'm not dominating. I'm getting by the skin of my teeth. Like, oh my God. I'm screaming at this teeth. Yes, it is done. I literally pulled out one of those because it was so tense at the end. I had a choice. I was like, do we revive the squad? Or do we go for it now?
I had that last night while playing the game. It's so funny to hear that. But I was in the Forsaken Tower. That damn thing, man. And I got to the boss, and literally I had one person up, and my greed was kicking. I'm like, I want the XP for everyone, though. I was like, all right, I'm using the item. I'm killing this thing. But like, because I tried to revive 3 rounds. I wasted so many items. Just everyone got wiped. Everyone was one shot. And I was like, nope. I'm gonna have to take the XP out. And of course he gives us like 5,000, like something ridiculous that I haven't seen all game. And I'm like, oh great, everyone missed on that. So I don't get anything really out of this whatsoever. I hate that this game does that, by the way. I just want to throw it out there. I hate that there is no XP gains for them being dead. Like you could do all the work, you get bitch slapped by a crit, you die, it's just an inconvenient res, and they're like, sorry, dude. Sorry, you didn't participate. You didn't
contribute.
Yeah. God, I hate that. Sorry. Go on.
No, that's fair. I think that's their balance for the main protagonist being able to be killed. Because most so like he out.
Yeah, he's done.
It's over.
Yeah.
But Metaphor said, okay, we ain't gonna do that. But anybody who got clapped, y'all ain't getting nothing. Everybody else that survived is eating. And I'm like, damn, Metaphor, like you cold-blooded, bro. And this was when it got real.
It's crazy because they have like perks that say like you can get XP while you're on the bench. But if you're dead, you can't get XP. What kind of sense does that make?
Yeah, I'm telling you, they on some Souls joint with this, bro. They hardcore. I told you my Shin Megami Tensei guys are like, yo, you told you. Like, it is that level. Like, so here's the thing. The key moment for me with this epic thing was I was down to it was literally down. It's when you get somebody in that the enemy is slumped and they're like, oh, you got me. You know that anime. That's the test. I'm close to finishing you. I'm so close. So I said, okay. There, be smart. And I said, what I did, I said, everybody's MP is exhausted almost. Mm-hmm. I'm almost out of like key mechanics. I'm like, do we heal? And I said, wait a minute. This is what saved me. Mm-hmm. My man had a move that said, give extra turns.
Oh.
Now is the time, Cog. You gotta go for it because use those extra terms. And then I had Magla potions. I'm giving people MP. I was like, and we gonna heal. We gonna brace for whatever they do.
Yeah.
And if we survive, we gonna clap the hell out of this. And we survived. And then Hulkenberg did a repel, and I said, we got him, baby. Tears. I was like, yes. So I did it. All right. Let's just get that out the way. The story overall is amazing. It is a fantastic story. These are some of the best characters as a full cast. I've never played a game where as a full cast, I literally love every character, every backstory. I'm like, this is dope. And I'm going to be real. Like, remember I told you about that one character? I told you about one, right? But everyone you get, the only nitpick I have with is one character you get kind of very late. And I'm like, man, I didn't have enough time with you. I felt in fairness to that character, like they should have at least let me rock longer. I couldn't even get that character up to it because I maxed everybody to level 8, their max relationship, except this one because I just felt like I didn't have enough. But other than that, fine. Okay, let's get it. I told you the game had 2-3 moments that were tearjerkers, that were amazing, flipped it on its edge. Story. Now let's get to the thing. The game, my nitpick with the game from being perfection is that the final antagonist gets a little what I call anime-y, where you're getting a little convoluted with certain things in your reasoning. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but I would have loved a little more exposition as to how you got to that decision to why you're doing what you're doing. Right now, the game
in a couple of years when they re-release the game and they
yeah.
Don't worry.
Now the game sets up some twists with certain characters. I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. Now when you end it, the game does a top level view, and I'm like, oh, okay, like that, dope. You giving me more context. Okay, cool. So other than that, this is an ending that I'm like, I felt worth. I'm rewarded for everything you made me do. Because I was worried with Metaphor. I'm like, you made me do all this stuff. If this ending is pretty short and you just, try to say, hey guys, we did it. Yay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be mad.
Yeah.
Oh no, this game, you get the post credit. You get a lot. Nice. And you get a future. They pulled out the stops.
Good.
I am not even going to hold you with the end. They even let you play some of the ending, which I thought was a very unique touch to really see how the world state is after. And I'm like, oh, this is beautiful stuff. So yeah, this game, I can't say there's a couple of nitpicks I get from making it perfection, but it is clearly my game of the year. It is the best turn-based combat I've ever seen. It is challenging. It will test you. That's what makes it rewarding. It is rewarding. Some of the game designs on these archetypes, as you continue to advance them, are absolutely amazing. The synergies are great, and it attempted to be bold. It attempted to tell a tale that at one point got a little confusing, but then you start to put it together. I'm like, oh, okay, really good stuff, man. Metaphor. I'm so glad you're out of my life in a way. I need a break. This thing consumed my soul. It really broke me as a gamer 4 times.
Oh man,
seriously, I was just like, I don't know if I could do this. Wow. I was like, this is tough. You know what I mean? Wow. But it's beautiful, man. So salute the Metaphor. And I already told you, the music is different. I will give you this. Persona is a vibe, right? I'm not going to sit there and say that, because I can see as a Persona fan, you be like, as you may be there, you say, Cog, it's good music, but I got to say Persona. And then any Persona fans that say that, I won't push back. But the music fits this theme, this almost nightly royal Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, your man going to have, you thought what you heard, there's a part, check my Twitter timeline. There's a song, when you get to a certain palace, they let him go. They say, yo, bro, you the best MC we've ever heard. We want you to spit your best balls. Go. This is the time. When you get, there's a beat. I was like, I put the controller down. I said, hey, yo, what is this? They let him go a cappella freestyle and bro, with some Gregorian chants and a majestic background, bro. I've never heard nothing like this. And the boss fights music are epic. Everything is, again, the chants, it's on. It's on. So, Metaphor, you did that. You did that. My game of the year, I have to say, for sure.
Damn, okay. You got me excited. Yeah, I'm like 40 hours deep, so.
Yeah.
How long did it take you? Like, what was your final clock?
120 something.
Oh my God.
100. When I thought I was scratching the surface, I wasn't.
Boy, you're the longest I've heard then.
But mind you, I struggled. Mind you, I did every quest.
Oh, I'm doing the same thing. So this.
Mind you, I went back to grind. I finished the game at level 77. And I still felt
I'm level 32 right now.
Yeah, I felt I could have grinded to 80. I don't even want to know what. If I would have just went regular playthrough, and let's say I would have got to the final encounter at like 67 or 68, there's no way I was beating it. Again, the nitpicks will be the spikes. The spikes are brutal. Some of these, but part of me likes it because it's like, oh, you're fighting the end. We're going to let you know. You know what I'm saying? So part of me likes it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so salute to Metaphor, and that's that. And then the other thing I could talk about now is as of recording, you know what I'm saying, this will be past embargo. Time to talk about the Black Rock. Shout out to Microsoft. After full disclosure, I was part of the latest Avowed preview program.
Yeah.
It was under embargo by the time of release of this. This will be, including for Patriots, it will be past embargo, so there will be no rule breaking here. So I'm just getting into disclosure. So we're good. We're safe, right?
Yes.
So, all right. So here's the thing. Me and you have played Avowed already at the Gamescom LA Xbox event.
Yep.
At that time when we played it, we were about, level 20 or whatever. We were deeper into the game. They gave us a full suite of abilities, and they showed us a part where we were talking to a godlike, where we told him the Gold and Silver Surfer, and yada, 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 right? This is literally the beginning of the game, and I feel, and that you start off, and right off the back, first off, third-person mode is available.
Yeah.
So I did try that out.
I didn't like that it was a menu option. I wish it was like a button you could press, because I was sometimes want to check the armor and then go back. Good call out,
because I that's where Bethesda has mastered that, right? Yeah. Bethesda's just like, you can flip it. You could tell Shitty was like, this was felt additive. You have to go into the sub-menus, into a setting to find it.
I'm glad they listened, though, nonetheless.
Yes, so at least they have. I felt it was serviceable. I'll be honest. I was expecting the worst. And I was like, okay, this is serviceable. I played around for a bit in it, but I said, you know what? In my opinion, this game is still meant to be first person. In my opinion, when I was in first person, the detail of the world shined a bit more. When I'm playing the first person combat and moving around, the one thing that I like is that, first of all, the game's in my opinion, has some of the best platforming I have ever encountered in a first-person RPG kind of game. The mantling is so responsive when you're running down. They encourage you to explore everything. They encourage you to. I was Assassin's Creeding things. I was jumping on top of things, getting on top of high structures and buildings, climbing lighthouses, seeing this. The game looks beautiful, man. I really, now, mind you, full disclosure, playing on PC. My PC is super lit. This is not representative of the Xbox Series anything. Like, this is
that 30 FPS that apparently is going to be there.
Exactly. And hopefully with the extra time that's allotted, that transforms to 60, which is what I am hoping on the console. But I can tell you, full disclosure, I'm playing above 60 on PC. All right, so let's get to it. The first thing is, and we talked about when we just talk about other games. I like when you start, you got this little squire dude. This little squire dude is hilarious. He's like your little square. So the thing that I notice is the amount of conversational engagement and dialogue choice.
Oh yeah.
Already, I'm like, Obsidian is already ahead of everyone else. Minus if your name's not Larian, right? Mm-hmm. And again, I didn't play Veilguard yet. You have, but I really enjoyed. Correct. I know how you feel about that.
That's Matty's face says it all moment.
Your face says it all. But Avowed just screams personality. It screams in-depth dialogue choices. And what I love about this game really rewards you for approaching situations differently, and the way you talk to people, the way you interact. So that was the first thing off the bat. I noticed that I was able to start. You pick your background. So I went with like this. It's called the a court augur, AUGU.
I went with the arcane scholar.
Ooh, we went to scholar. So my man is almost like Dark Shadows, magey like, but also fortune teller, almost energy. So I go up to characters and NPCs, and I would be able to not just like read their thoughts. They'd be like, "Oh my God, how did you know that?" And that would open up other dialogue choices. Also, these backgrounds that you pick give you presets on your attributes. So because I picked this augur, my intelligence is high, my perception is very high, and I forgot what is another stat that it had. But like my constitution was low, and the other thing that managed my strength was low. But the beauty of it is, even though you pick that preset, you can still edit. You're like, you know what? I want to take one off of intelligence and put one on strength. And the beauty of Avowed, this game is all about play the way you want to play. There is no limits to how you can kind of do things. And that kind of is reflective on the skill system. Like most games, let's be real. Mage, fighter, this, that, and the third. Bro, there was one point I started sword and board, right? Doing sword and board, getting the thing on. Another point, I had two-handed, big axe, boom. And combat improved. Yeah. Improved. Now, they even got I didn't notice this the first time we played. I didn't notice this stun meter. Did you notice that the first time?
Yeah, that was a huge thing I pointed out in my preview. I was like, the stun thing set up the finishers. And remember when we played in August, we were like, you're doing finishers on every enemy. And it's like just slow-mo. Yes. You're like, all right, this was cool at first, but now it seems like it's specific encounters. And when you do, it feels good.
Oh, but it's so satisfying. I felt the sound is better. Is the combat perfect? I don't expect fighting game kind of level, but it's improved, right? I will feel the impact of the sound got better. You could nitpick if you don't like the hand-to-hand stuff. I could get that. But what I will give them credit is, like you said, that stagger meter, for example, I finally got a wand. I'm hitting somebody up, and then that stagger bar hit, and then my man did some crazy animations and was like, be gone.
Yeah, and all the spells that come up from the ground, really cool.
Bro, I picked a hunter class spell where a root comes from the ground, grabs the enemy's foot, holds them in place. Then I start letting my grimoire go and I start conjuring up, blasting them. Crazy. Then you got your man with you could go Mass Effect style. Hold down the radio wheel. Yo, Kai, go get him. Do your ability, whatever. I love the max. I thought that I didn't expect me to really get into the combat the way I was getting into it.
Yeah.
It is Oh, shout out. This is where Arcane and Redfall. Stealth mechanic.
I know.
Can go up behind someone, put that energy god like so, and it looked just like the Halo gods.
Yeah.
Stealth them out, bro. Crazy. I got to one part. Oh, this game, man. I'm really loving this game. Again, it shows you, even though it's not open world, I love the density. I love, for the most part, if I look in the horizon, I can pretty much go there. But the thing, there's so much things packed. I went to a section where it was like a graveyard and they was looting the graves. So I get there, it was a chick, and then it was that race that Kai is. She had a goon with her. So I go over there and I'm like, yo, what's up? And they like, yo, this is our territory. Ain't no grave robbing here. This we claim this. So because of my perception thing, I was able to talk the goon down. I was like, you don't want no smoke. You were her. What did she put you up to this? Leave now before I handle you. And I had a might thing. Yeah, I had 2 checks, my might and my got him to be like, yeah, I was just doing this because she wanted me. And then she starts arguing with the NPC, like, I can't believe you did this to me. You gonna leave. I will never hire you again. You've done, like, it was a whole thing.
Wow.
And the beauty of Obsidian is the consistent interaction with your companions also in them. I had a situation where I was going to a shop vendor and the shop vendor was like, oh, you got him with you? You know, Kai with you? Kai was like, come on, girl, you know you love me. Stop it. And I was like, what's this? I went to another vendor and he was like, yo, whatever you do, don't buy from my wife. And I was like, what's going on? And then you go to the wife, they beef it. Like, it's all type of stuff going on in this game. But like I'll let you go because I know you played too, but there's so much to talk about it. I mean, again, I felt the game, the density, the questing was fun. Just moving around the map. Obviously, we got to see if they land this story. It's obviously we're playing a vertical slice of where we are in the beginning. But from everything I played, I really felt good. And I was already sold on this game before. Now I'm like, bro, I cannot get enough. So it's about 2.5 playthrough. I got to where I was at and I started to unlock godlike abilities. I got more stuff to, one last thing before I give it to you. These games, Matty, I never pick Hunter. In these games, I never pick Hunter, Arrow. I picked Arrow and Bow. Crit spots. Very satisfying gameplay. I got the gun. They got a double barrel shotgun. I got very satisfied. So I'm impressed. You know what I'm saying? So far. And I think that the extra time is going to help them. But I'm curious, I know I like it very much, but I'm curious where you are. And then I know you play in other games too. So however you want to start, if you want to start with your the one game that I'm really curious that you're playing, you want to start with that or you want to go into whatever?
We'll keep with Avowed, just
okay.
So I can put a bow on it. You know, okay. I played it too, and I really liked a lot of what I played. I feel like a lot of the dialogue was a little flavor texty in my experience. Your background sounded more interesting than mine. I did Arcane Scholar, so I was just kind of like smarter than most people. But it felt like it was just more about player expression, which worked really for me still, but it didn't feel like I was finding unique solutions. The unique solutions lied for me in like how I explored. So I found this Zarep like fortress and I cleared it out pretty much going right up the middle. Or actually, I went through the left side and then down into the middle. And I'd like do a stealth takedown and just, all right, guns blazing now. And I didn't realize that there was actually, until I was doing my sweep afterwards, I came back around and there was a hole in the wall or a wall that had a barrel next to it. I shot it and it dropped a hole into it. And I was like, oh shit, I could have just gone right through there, snuck in the back. In that first encounter I did where I used most of my resources would have been much easier. So I appreciated that. It wasn't like a one-off thing. There were like a lot of moments, just even in basic exploration, where I jumped on top of a roof and, oh, look at this weak wood here. Hit it, drop down. Oh, there's a chest here. That itch that people kind of had from Starfield where it's like, man, I want to wander. I want to see something in the distance and go and check it out and find something fulfilling there. I think Avowed already has in spades. Like, it is really good exploration. I'm really happy with it. And I think people will be too, because it just has that, it has what I've always thought, unique loot. I got like 4 pieces of like unique looking armor and weapons very early in the game, and each had like different properties. And were exciting to find. And so I'm very pumped about that prospect throughout the rest of the game. Is if they can continue to deliver that, that's good. Because for comparison, in my video, I used the Outer Worlds because I feel like a lot of the skeleton for Avowed was built off the back of Outer Worlds, and the zones are big in this game so far, at least. You know, Dawn Shore, which we got to explore, was very spacious, far bigger than I ever anticipated. You know, whereas Monarch was the biggest part of the Outer Worlds, and I feel like this was on par with that scope, and it was Area 1. So there was a lot of things to do, a lot of quests to pick up, a lot that I might have even missed, quite frankly, because, you know, for me with these previews, I try to go deep enough where I can get a taste without going all the way. I have to have that self-control, not going all the way, so that when I play the game at launch, you know, I'm still like, I haven't seen too much and that it hurts my opinion of the game. So yeah, I mean, exploration wise, very excited. One thing I was kind of looking at, I'm curious how you feel, is this preview timing is great because this was the original release window for Avowed, right?
Good call. I forgot about
this was the original release window. And so the Xbox has been kind of doing a lot of like, yeah, we just moved it because, you know, it's busy time of year. So we're going to put it in an even busier time of year in February of 2025. It's totally fine otherwise. So I was like, all right, I get to actually see now where y'all would be at, you know, roughly speaking, depending on when the build was made, where y'all would be at for launch. And so I go ahead and I fire this thing up, and it's kind of buggy, dude. Like, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Like,
I did have one. Yes.
One dude's voice lines, like, straight up just didn't kick in at all.
I did have that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's consistent. That's good because that's fixable then.
I think it's one of them was in the notes as far as a known issue.
Okay.
But yes, that happened. And I did have one thing where I tried to charge up a throwable grenade, and you know how sometimes it gives that outline? And I had an outline, and I'm like, oh, and it didn't go away.
Oh,
and
interesting.
I was like, okay, so I had to, let me load this old save.
Yeah, I didn't have that.
I did have that one.
Okay.
Time.
I had really bad pop in. I was playing on highest settings where like I'd be walking around, and I'd like literally see the world kind of loading in front of me consistently. I was like, ah, man, I don't like that. And then when I was playing in third person, the performance wasn't as good. It was, which matters less on PC because I went from like 60 to maybe like 40 something. But when you're on consoles where you're saying we're trying to go for that hard 30 and then the performance is dipping in third person, I wonder what happens over there with those machines. If you go in the third person, if that's going to dip into the 20s, which is kind of what Dragon's Dogma 2 had. And that was not great feeling at certain stretches when the action picked up. So I think it got delayed based on my experience because there are nothing was broken or catastrophic. It needs some tightening up though. So I thought it was kind of interesting insight to get on that part. And I'm glad they gave it the time it needs because otherwise it is a really great game so far, I feel. And those technical things that they can dial in, that's really all it felt like it needed because it looks beautiful. Like the character models, the world, the lighting, really good. Dialogue's really good. I haven't given it like the full rip of like how evil can I be? You know, what choice can I make? You've learned that on the, you know, throughout a playthrough, but you know, dipping my toe into the pool effectively was good. I am having trouble liking how these characters look. I like characters like Kai or that Garrick dude who is in the prologue. I'm like, what?
You don't like the little squire dude?
Oh no! I looked at him.
That's my man.
I was like, what the fuck is this, bro? Like,
that's his race. Don't judge his race.
No, I apologize. I just there are characters in this universe that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let the Pillars. I said in my preview, I'm gonna let the Pillars fans speak if this is accurate. I don't know enough about this world, but for me as a newcomer, I'm looking at this like,
don't you hate on the furries, the little furry squad? That's my little Podrick dude.
Yeah, I just something about some of how the characters look in this game, not really jiving with me. But models look really good. World looks really good. It's easily, we talked about this in August, but it's easily Obsidian's best looking game by a country mile, and it's one of the better looking games recently speaking. Like it's not just their own set of standards, but I think like broadly speaking, it's impressive looking, especially when you go to the party camps at nighttime. Like, oh yeah, damn, dude, those quiet moments, sit down, chat it out a little bit.
Chat it out. Very Baldur's Gatey.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Origins, a little Normandy vibes. They're just going around, just getting into it with your party members.
A lot of exposition. They go in deep with those talk. You could be there, and he has more and more and more.
I thought the full talk with Kai when I first sat down with him, I was like, okay, like let's get into it, right? Like let's talk about what we've been going through recently. We just linked up. But after all of that, there are like 3 or 4 questions I could ask him that just go down rabbit holes. Damn, okay, cool. Like this is what I want from them. So it feels like an Obsidian game without the compromise on the elements that Obsidian games typically do compromise on. Like usually you play in Obsidian games, you're like, all right, cool. Dialogue and choices with serviceable gameplay, good to go. That's kind of what the Outer Worlds was. And I think the Outer Worlds has aged gracefully, so it's not an insult. But then I play Avowed, and I'm like, okay, so you guys evolved your level design. You evolved like the elements can interact with it. You evolved how your companions can interact with it. You evolved how I can approach it. And in turn, it's more fun to play. You know, especially the build options here are crazy. Like I kind of felt overwhelmed. So I started off like, let me try a dagger. Okay. Then I ended up with the wand and the grimoire because I thought of you and I was like, Cog was really talking that up. I didn't get a chance to do that. So I got into that, but then I was like, I need a ranged option. I found a gun, dude. I found a whole-on rifle. The arquebus is what it's called.
The arquebus, that's what it's called.
Changed
yes.
My life, dude. I'm just like sitting in the bushes like, you fucking Zorips. Like, it's just constantly like dropping people, charging this thing up. It's almost OP.
Yeah, it's like a musket in a way because you get that one shot. It's powerful, but then you got to do the reload.
Bro. When I'm shooting a black bear and I missed, and my character's like, fuck. I'm just like backing up, trying to like switch out to the wand and the grimoire. But yeah, man, I like that they have options for the different equipment you can have because it would be so tough to choose a play style without that. Because you can basically a hybrid by default in this game. Attributes are crazy. You know, you have so many different ways to build there. The abilities are crazy because it's like, okay, do I want to up how much damage I do with my wand early? Also, the Grimoire has this book of spells you can use, but if you want to say like, I want a shield instead, you can learn these spells through the skill tree. So it's like, oh, I want the fire spell. So I'm going to learn that, equip that, and then take out the shield. So now I can use the fire at the same time as holding the shield up.
I found another Grimoire book that had different spells.
Yeah.
And one of them joints had make a fire staff, right? Because I had one that did like a poison hand. It was poisoning people. And what I ended up doing was, it's dope, but it was killing a lot of my essence, right? So what happens, the other one I would switch to create a fire staff. And then every time you hit with that fire, it became a melee weapon class for the mage. And then every time you hit, it would give you essence back. So I would switch back and forth, bro. Wow. The flows.
I didn't know about that.
Very deep stuff, combat. I was blown away. And one real quick thing before I forget, because I know you're going into your combat, your experience. How did you feel about, I thought this was really genius audio design. Anytime you get near a chest, you hear this little shimmering. So you be in the area and then you hear that sound, you be like, oh, where's the loot? Where's the loot at?
What game did that? There's another game that had the chest jingle where you're like, where's this damn thing?
You're in proximity and it creates exploration opportunities. And what I like is every time I did it and I went through a roof of a house, so I went up a location that was very far off the beaten path, I found some exotic loot, bro. Like super attributes, heavy armor with healing properties. I'm like, this is what I was talking about from other games that reward me for doing these things or hard content or off the beaten path content. And I'm like, yes, I had to get that in because I love that. But continue your experience with the combat and all that other stuff.
I agree. The loot is huge in this game, dude. It's a huge difference maker. There was not one point I went into a random direction, went like, damn, that was kind of pointless. Like it just kept giving you, like I would kind of go extra efforts in something I thought was minimal and it'll be like unique item. I'm like, oh shit, that's a pair of boots I can put on. And I go in third person. I'm like, damn, I haven't seen that anywhere. Okay. And they did tell us that in their interview. They were like, yeah, we like, based on the history of this game and how much different loot they tried to make for it, they were like, we have so many variables of how things look that we just basically got to spread that out into this massive, unique weapon and armor system in the game, which music to my ears. But right now it feels like it's delivering because early game, they're like, here's unique. Oh, you went up this tower. Here's like a totem, which you can bring back to your...
You went up that lighthouse?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, tell me the visa and you scale it and then you could see where you started at from the beginning.
Yeah.
And the platform, I'm sorry. I love that. I love that you did that because I did the same thing. I was testing the game. I was like, I want to see if I could go all the way up there.
Yeah, that was the thing, right? It really had that Todd Howard said, like, you see that mountain, you can climb it. Like it had a little of that feeling where you could see kind of the rim of the map, like the borders, but it was kind of organically built where you'd be going into the thick of the forest or the thick of a cave. No loading screens, by the way. Like I thought they would break up some of the areas with loading screens, like, oh, you entered this dungeon and now this is a whole new map. But they didn't. It was actually like all seamless. And I liked it because it didn't feel like it was compromising to do that. I thought at first, like, you don't get like a Skyrim moment where you like go into a dungeon and there's this whole story there, but you'll find people throughout and they'll give you side quests and that sort of stuff. But I mean, I was just, again, very surprised by how big this zone was. I do think Avowed is shaping up to be a much bigger game than we all expect. And that was kind of the main takeaway. I was like, damn, okay, this is like set some time aside type big. Not in the terms of content, but just if you want to explore, see it all, maybe set some time aside. It seemed like there was a lot there.
I agree.
Again, if this early sample is
indicative
of what the rest is there, it felt very telling. So very encouraging. Yeah. And like you mentioned earlier, just a lot of the stuff that was problematic in our playthrough in August was much better this time around. So sound was better, visual feedback when fighting was better, so much better that I almost forgot. I really did. Like I took a note and I was like, I almost forgot this was a thing, but this is better now. I thought, did you notice like stamina management felt more important? Like every attack I was using was whittling away at, every dodge was whittling away at. I was like, I'm like, at first I was just going in the thick of it. I was getting kind of bodied. I was like, I'm struggling.
Some of the combat ain't tough. The enemies are tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the encounter design is really good so far, where it's like they throw a lot of enemies at you and they're different enemy types. Like, oh, that's an elder. And at first, bro, I'm like throwing grenades and I'm like, why are you all healing so much? What's going on here? And then I realized, like, this motherfucker in the back. Like, then like pick out the arc bus, pop him in the head. And now I was like, yeah, where's your heals at now? So they have those guys. They have the guards who have like a whole extra layer of armor that you got to charge attack. There's people who got like range weapons. So you have to kind of like quickly assess the situation. You go like, okay, there's like 6 of them here. Who do I take out first? Mm-hmm. And yeah, dude, like early goings, I'm like forgetting how to dodge. I'm like, I looked, dude, it was so embarrassing. I was like crouching mid fight. I was like, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, it was bad, man. Bro, it was bad.
Dodge is important. I fought a bear. And the bear did this charge up.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, and the thing is where they fake you, you think they'll do a big animation, you weave, and you're like, okay, they finished. No, they're coming, sometimes they're coming again.
Yeah.
And you're like, yo, this is, it was the stamina management, the dodging, but I have to shout out. I had a mace at one point, and the charge up animations in this game are fire. Like I pull up the big, he start going like, boom, upside your head. What now? I was clocking cats with that, and even I got a spear, the charging on the poke animation, the wand charging. I was surprised the wand was very. I was lacerating people, from a distance. So it's different play styles, however you want to do, but the combat is what you said. From what we experienced in. It's like, wow, this is really a glow up for what we, experienced. And it felt really more satisfying.
You know what I got a kick out of is like the bears, bro. Like the bears, like just stood on business. They'd be like this, just standing up on 2 feet, just looking at you. I'm just like,
what's up? You coming through this cave and now? What's
I'm
up?
just like, why are you? I was like, hang on, I'm just gonna pull out the arc bus again. Get a little crit shot there. Yeah. So Avowed shaping up, man. Very excited for it. Good. I felt some of Kingdom Come Deliverance overtaking it, but Avowed neck and neck now. Very encouraging preview for sure.
Very, really, really like what I played. So then you play something else then.
Yes, there's a reason why Metaphor is not on my played list, because I've played about 15-ish hours of Stalker 2, put up some impressions on my channel, and yeah, dude, this is an interesting video game, right? It goes without saying that there has been a lot of build up to this one. Really, this game goes back to 2012. I don't know if you knew that, but I did some research on it because I was like, how long has this been in development for? And they like pre-announced it then. The team disbanded. They got back together. They released a game called Cossacks 3. Then in E3 2018, they pre-announced it so that they could try to strike a deal. And obviously, we see now Xbox was that partner, because then in 2021, they revealed the game for a release in 2022. And then it got delayed because of the war, Russia and Ukraine. And many of their developers were like fighting in that war while working on the game. And so kudos to them for getting out the door. And obviously, we've talked about it many a times, like how, because people would write in, like, how are you guys going to handle the review? And it's like, we're going to give them the respect of like, you worked hard to make this thing. So it should be graded fairly. Like you should be treated like any other developer while still acknowledging that situation. And obviously I was going and hoping like, man, I hope this isn't like really bad because I don't want to be that guy who comes in as like, nah, sorry. S.T.A.L.K.E.R community, I gotta say, y'all are hilarious. Because like, and I don't even say that like antagonistically. They're legitimately funny because like there was a viral tweet who was like, "Yo, if S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 is not ridiculously broken, I'm not buying it." And people were like dead serious. I looked at all the reviews real quickly just to kind of see what was going on, and all the comments were like, "Those aren't bugs; those are anomalies." Like there is a community-driven effort of like, we want the jank big time. And I'm here to tell you, you got it. Now, they picked a great reviewer in me for this one because this is a game that's very Matty spirited. It is the quintessential first-person exploration, interactive world, post-apocalyptic Fallout vibes we'll get into, with the understandable level of jank attached to it that I can forgive while other reviewers would probably lose their mind over. Like I saw, I think VGC gave it a 2 out of 5. And while I still have to see the full breadth of things, at least early on, I'm like, hey, this is kind of good. It's got its problems, but it's kind of good. I do think some bugs, like when it comes to combat, someone mentioned Clear Skies has the same thing where you'll find like a group of enemies, and the first thing they do, grenade, and it just lobs at your feet every time. And it gets tiring, I feel. Like it's like
super accuracy.
Oh, I mean, like, bro, perfect, like a fucking dime. Just bang right at your feet, and you're like, oh,
we're dropping dimes, throwing spirals at you.
So you're like, okay, gotta drop back. Every fight you hear like grenade, and just ding ding. You're like, okay, I gotta move. They can see you in the dark, which you struggle to do. So there is jank, but there are, I think, AI issues. There's moments where like I had a cutscene. I saw Kev do it, had the same thing in his video on it, like where character models like looking the other way, and there's just like the camera itself while I'm in a cutscene is like focused on a floating pair of headphones. I'm like, man, all right. Like some people will be like, all right, that's funny, whatever. Can live with that. And again, S.T.A.L.K.E.R fans are literally saying like, we would have it no other way. You know how like Bethesda Game Studios gets crucified for leaning on their modding community?
Yes.
Dude, all of the comments are like, hey, yo, modding community's got that. Not really a big deal. It is absurd. I was like, wow, there's like another BGS style community out there in the S.T.A.L.K.E.R community. So I'm glad I did my research on the game before kind of punching in my review impressions fully, because at first I was like, I don't know. But then I was like, let me learn more about this series. Like I got 5 hours and I'm like, I'm not really feeling this. This is like really challenging and in some ways the right way, in some ways the wrong way. But learning about the series, I recommend people do this so your expectations are in the right place, because this is very much just a next-gen S.T.A.L.K.E.R game with all of the things that make it great and all the things that make it janky and problematic for others. So you go into this place called the Zone. It's I think the 2006 Chernobyl disaster, and the idea is that this zone, like people are living within, is experiencing anomalies, but yet most of it is explained by science and technology. So there's a level of like realism attached to it, I think would be the right term. Like, okay, this feels believable. This feels like a place while still having crazy supernatural shit happening. And so in the middle of all of that is your character Skiff. Story isn't good, man. We'll be honest. You know, you start off in this opening cutscene. You're in an apartment. It's on fire. You pick up this artifact, fades to black, and you're entering the zone. And you're like, what's going on here? I think this is where you can see the development kind of got a little chaotic for them, understandably so. But you'll see things like a note in your diary, and it's called like Skiff's journal. And you'll read it real quick, and it'll be like, yeah, like I had a deal go south, and like this dummy showed up. And in order for this dummy artifact to be charged up, I had to sign this deal with someone else, and that's why we're out here. And if we do this, we make a lot of money. So it fills in like why you're in the zone in the first place. Like the whole why of the game is in a note, and that is a problem, in my opinion. Not the end of the world, and I don't think these games are known for their narratives, but I think it's important for people to just be aware of that, because they do put a lot of effort into the presentation. What I think makes the story fun is the choices you get, bro. Oh, you want to pop someone? Go ahead. Like, just whatever. Like, there are moments where like you'll meet bandits and be like, hey, yo, this guy over here needs money or needs, we need to get money from him. You either help us or you're dead. And so you could be like, all right, hold up, I'll go talk to him. And you could like hash it out with him and be like, what are we going to do, bro? They got guns pointed at me. I did that one moment. And this guy's like, look, top of the water tower, scoped rifle. It's yours. Just get me out of this, right? Now, you could have just shown up, killed all these dudes. You could have just been like, all right, give me your money. And you would have missed that thing all the way up there. So I'm like, all right, like, I feel like this is a trap. Like, there's no law out here. So I feel like this is a trap. So I'm like, all right, climb this water tower, open this satchel. And what do you know? Scoped assault rifle. I'm like, this is a game changer. The loot curve in this game is great because you'll start off with like pistols and SMGs. And it's an okay feeling shooter is how I define it. Like, I would say games like Cyberpunk feel better. Avowed arguably feels better. Like, it's in that janky category where it's not like you're, especially if you're going off of Black Ops 6, y'all, just prepare yourself. Like, the movement, the idle sway with the gun, like, it all feels very cumbersome is how I define it. But as you're starting with these weapons and you're like, man, I'm feeling kind of weak. Every shot counts to like where I got 16, 17 hours in where I'm like, man, like now I went from dropping this double barrel shotgun. Now I got a pump action. I found armor that is way more protective because dude, you will die a lot in this game. You will die a lot in this game. Yeah. Frustratingly so for some, but for me, I was like, okay, now like you don't realize it in the moment. I'm like, all right, let me put on this new jacket I got. It's got apparently better physical protection. I get into a firefight next, and right away, like 3 dudes just like bang, 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 bang. And I'm thinking like, normally you're dead in a heartbeat. But I took those shots and was able to drop back and heal. And I was like, wow, thank God I got that. So I actually went into my footage and was like, what did I do to get that armor? And I realized like I fought through a ton of rats, went into an abandoned car park, found a hidden cache from like another stalker. And in there was that jacket. And when I got that jacket, a bunch of bandits showed up and were like, yo, give us that. So it was like this dynamic moment too. And I was like,
run the jacket.
Yeah.
Run the jacket.
They wanted my flannel. They wanted the flannel. And so I love that because then I thought back to that one. I was like, wow, I went through so much to get it. Didn't realize what I got was so important until the next fight where I got held up again. And then I was like, go ahead, shoot me. I was like, I don't care. And they didn't kill me right away. And I had the pump action. I was like, oh, I mean business now. Okay. And I started tearing through this base that had way more enemies. It was gratifying. I was like, this is what makes this game click. Gotcha. It's the exploration, the dynamic moments, the hilarity of some jank. Although, again, some legit bugs that need to be fixed here that I think even the developers will say, we want to get rid of those. And I just think good first-person exploration. Like, just roaming this world and just navigating the anomalies and sometimes you'll just be walking, you'll see like fire on the ground. You're like, you'll take out like a little bolt, throw it at the fire, and all of a sudden like a pit of fire will explode from the ground. You're like, good thing I didn't step on that. Like,
oh, they got the traps.
Yeah, like you got to be careful going through this world. There is fast travel. I was wrong about this in my impressions. I was like, I'm not sure if there is. You could talk to guides and they'll take you to different spots around the world. But I pretty much walked everywhere in this game and was happy to do so because that's what you're going to be doing predominantly anyway. It's not perfect, man, but it's enjoyable. It's a lot better than I thought it would be, but I get why it's bounced off for a lot of people. But if what I'm describing sounds like, oh, I can tolerate that, and that actually sounds really good, which there are weird people like me, this game will be up your alley. Like if you like that Fallout experience, like I know they're very separate, but they leaned into the inspiration. Like, with Fallout in 3 in New Vegas, when you got a side quest line, you'd hear that kind of trickling radioactive sound.
Yeah.
They do that when you get a quest. Nice. When you're talking to characters, you know how they kind of eyes dart around in New Vegas and whatnot. They do that in this game, which I don't know if that's deliberate, but it has that similar feel to it. The first person kind of immersive exploration, very Fallout coded. Like you'll be monitoring your radiation while you're out there. Like there's a lot of Fallout energy. If you've been looking for a kind of familiar Fallout experience, I really think y'all will like this a lot. If you're like me and you like that OG kind of Fallout feel, it's not Fallout, but it's got some of that inspiration there. I think you'll really dig it. It's really cool in that way.
Now, were you playing for platform? Were
PC.
You playing PC?
Sorry, I should have specified that.
Okay, so PC. Okay, so you're playing PC. Okay.
Has anyone talked about console yet? It's out now, so I'm sure
things. I'm hearing because I'm looking. The Metacritic is like in the 70s, and then it's like 80 on Xbox, but it's early. But I was, some of the early things that I saw was like people were saying that you could tell this is really meant for a PC and like some maybe controller input situation maybe happening on console.
Yeah. Like if you're using your inventory in PC, like let's say I need to heal up real quick, I can bring open my backpack, click around, and it's done. On Xbox, which I play with the controller, you have to like hold the A button or X button, I think it was, to use that bandage, and it's a little more slower pace comparatively speaking.
And then what surprised people though, they were saying because of the performance on PC. So the issues when you say the jank, I'm just trying to narrow it down. The jank is more like, bugs or just like things that look weird that you're like, all right, you got to fix that. Like give me you gave one or two examples, but like your overall experience on what really is the jank.
Yeah, the jank is like, when I describe jank in the lovable way, I think of like the movement and the way the gun handles. It's not bad. It's like deliberately cumbersome because you're talking about a game that's kind of trying to focus on realism and survivability. And so, just having swift Call of Duty like gunplay, I don't think would fit. So it's a deliberate design choice. But it feels imperfect, and that's kind of part of the charm. The actual bad imperfections are like that cutscene bug I mentioned. Audio cuts out on guns a lot. Which I think got patched out. I downloaded another patch and it seemed much better. But when I was playing it, a lot of times I'd be like shooting and my gun would just go dead silent and no feedback while you're shooting. You don't realize how much that informs like your aim and stuff until it's gone. But playing a game on silent was not fun. It would just randomly come back when I switched weapons, or if you switch from mono back to stereo, like it would come back on. It was a weird bug there. That's not jank. Like that's not the adorable, lovable jank that makes this series. That is something that's broken that needs fixing. That cutscene, I mean, the cutscenes, they put a lot of effort in, like the first person animation, like while I was talking to this person, we were basically like on a skyscraper, if you will. And I was like kind of walking with my arms stretched out, just kind of on this like wooden plank that if it broke, I would have fallen like fucking 30 stories. And then I turn around and I mentioned the floating headphones and the like Walkman. And I'm like, man, it's kind of taken away from like what's supposed to be a cool, immersive first person cutscene. So yeah, there are problems. Performance wise, I had some issues on higher settings. I think people should be aware of that it's not optimized well for that like highest settings or high settings. I played on medium 1440. I have a 3080 PC with 8-core processor and 32 gigs of RAM. And on medium, I thought it looked really good and it ran perfectly fine. Granted, I'm not one of those PC users where everything needs to be maxed out. When my computer will allow it, like it did with Avowed, like, okay, let's see what we got here. With something like, I've heard from other people playing on PC, like they had better builds than mine and they were having issues. So I think if you play on the medium settings, you're good. You go higher than that,
So probably some optimization.
Yeah, it's I define it as similar. I'm a little more forgiving of that because look, if Baldur's Gate 3 got the pass for that, I think Stalker 2 can. Okay. Because I think Stalker 2 does enough great things, just like a Baldur's Gate 3 did enough great things to be like, okay, we can deal with that. Like I gauge it on literally my PC's warmth. Like when I reach over and I touch it, I'm like, how hot is this thing? Right. With something like Stalker, I was like, okay, my PC's not running like a furnace right now on medium. Going on highest settings, everything a little bit different. But something like Avowed highest settings, touch that PC, I was like, whoo, a little hot. So I gauge it a little bit on that beyond the performances. Like how hard is it making my PC work? And Baldur's Gate 3, the reason I use it as reference is because my PC was ridiculously hot playing that to the point where I played that whole game in like 1080p. Now I can play it in 1440 max settings, no problem, because it's been optimized a lot more. Where when I play it, cool as a fucking cucumber. So it is a good intangible gauge to know how hard it's making your system work. And I think that's worth considering because like, all these pieces of technology have, they have a limited lifespan, right? So don't want to work them too hard if you don't have to. So
fair enough.
But yeah, Stalker 2, I think it's good. I do. I wouldn't try to oversell it because it's a very specific audience. But if you're into the kind of things I've described, I think you'll like what's here. I wouldn't run away based on lower reviews. I wouldn't. at first I wasn't liking it, but once you understand like, oh, this is supposed to be difficult and this is made in a very particular way and there is a spirit to this franchise. Like I know as someone who is a BGS fan, like I know that the jank is part of it for people. I know it. Like I know the eyes darting around while talking is just part of it for people. Like there's a charm to all of that. So that's why I say I feel like I was the perfect reviewer for this game because I'm like, I was like, I get all of this stuff completely, and I feel kind of at home with this game. Where do I love it as much as Fallout? No, not at all. But I was like, yeah, there's something about this game that works for me, and I appreciate it. So, great Game Pass game for sure. Like if you have the subscription, worth the check. Full price. I mean, I haven't finished the game, so I can't fully say if like the story turns on stuff, but right now I'm like, it wouldn't hurt to, especially they're pledging like long-term support. It really wouldn't hurt to let them kind of work out some of these kinks, look around, see how people are experiencing the game with the day one patch. If you are not a Game Pass subscriber and you want to buy and own this thing, keep that sort of stuff in mind. I think that would be my personal suggestion for Stalker 2. Not a buy immediately, but if you start to see like, oh, they're really ironing things out and it's gaining momentum, I don't think it's a game to be outright skipped. I do think it's good enough to be played. And definitely if you have Game Pass, 100% check this out. I think it's good. All right, Cog, here we go. It's time for the rest of the news. This week, Xbox launched a mildly, to put it lightly, controversial advertisement. And the campaign is titled, "This is an Xbox." Now, following this ad going live that I'm assuming most of our audience has already seen, if not, it's like a 59-second ad. Go ahead, check it out. It is a advertisement, by the way, just showing many screens, your phone, ROG Ally, Steam Deck, I think was there, your television screen. All these are Xboxes, was the idea behind this marketing campaign. Now, Phil Spencer immediately clarified to Rolling Stone saying, quote, "We'll definitely do more consoles in the future and other devices. Our biggest growth in Xbox players is on PC and cloud. The console space all up isn't growing across all of them. We love those customers, but in the terms of continuing to expand and grow Xbox, it's about PC, it's about cloud, and it's about making our games available in more places," end quote. Jimbo writes in, "Howdy, Double D's. Microsoft's This is an Xbox marketing campaign is pretty clear sign that they're winding down the importance of their console. The point that they're making is that you can make an internet-capable device you already own play console games with the cloud. If this is the direction Xbox is heading, why are they bothering making a handheld and a next-gen console? Have a every gaming podcast is now an Xbox podcast kind of day." I have many thoughts. I want to get yours first. What is your take on the commercial? What is your take on, they're not hiding it, the take on multi-platform and sort of multi-hardware approach? What's the feel on what direction Xbox is going in now?
Yeah, so let's get the elephant in the room as far as the vision, right? I've always felt the initial vision is correct. I do think when I look at like Windows Play Anywhere or whatever, that's the future of gaming. Me playing Metaphor on my Xbox Series X, and then I go, on a flight. I have my ROG Ally. It has my save data. I continue what I'm doing in offline mode. Then from there, I get to the hotel, and then boom, I've got my laptop with me, and I continue my experience because that is kind of like their future vision. So I think the vision is correct. What I don't like is that this is an Xbox. It's too early. It's just slightly too early. Like, this is your utopia. This is what you're trying to get to, right? But if we talk about right now, right, trying to do that same experience, I have to say, okay, what games are Metaphor like that have Windows Play Anywhere? Not all of them, right? You just debuted now the feature of, digital games that I own that are not Game Pass can now be in the cloud. You literally just debuted that today, right? Then, I talk about the ROG Ally. Oh, it's a Windows PC. I have to tell, Joe Normal that, hey, Joe Normal, he don't know. They'll hit me up, Cog, I just got the Ally. What do I do? Oh, you got to go in your Windows settings. You have to put everything in offline mode. Then you got to download. It's not as intuitive as you're making it to seem. And then now you go to the laptop. Okay, maybe you do your native version of Game Pass, Play Anywhere, and that's fine. But what I'm trying to say is your mobile store is not ready, right? So all of these things in theory, they may work on some level, even with the TV. Okay, yeah, you got to have a controller, you got to have the Bluetooth, or you got to have the Fire Stick. All of these things are in place, but they're not fully fleshed out and realized for a complete optimal experience. And you don't have your head held out ready, right? So that's where I'm at. Your vision is correct, but I think you are too early. Now, this is with the marketing itself. Look, I'm a hip hop guy. I'm old school. You throw Black Sheep, the choice is yours. Yeah, I get it. I see what you're trying to do. But I think about the Matties of the world. I think about the young cat. It's kind of cringy. It's kind of old man talking to a young buck. Just the music choice. Like, what I would have done is this. Instead of saying this is an Xbox, this is, because part of that is going to scare some of your crowd, which clear as day, you do not care if you're doing this mission. You don't care. Like, and I get it. You've been consistent lately with that. Now we know what it is. But I think the approach I would have taken would have been like, okay, first of all, not release this now. Release this in a year or two now when you have a mobile store, you have more things running.
Yep.
But I would have been like, instead of like, this is an Xbox, I'd have been like, yo, we go wherever you at, that's where we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't make it feel like, you just, this is an Xbox. No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? like it's just not. And then again, it's a future where wherever Game Pass exists and things that it can work. But I just feel you're just a little too early, and you should roll this out when the vision is fully more realized. Now, I want to ask the Jimbo's question. Jimbo's like, why they even bother making a hell in the next gen console? This is where I'll push back on Jim, because I agree with everything else Jimbo's saying. The reason why is because at the end of the day, you still, whatever that number is, let's say that number is 33 million series consoles, 33 million people to service. Now, you may not be growing outside of that 33, but you still want to service with the hope that they continue to buy the new hardware and know at the end of the day, that's an entry point. Yeah. You ain't going to walk away from 33. You may introduce and say, hey, we're not growing as big as, and we got other things we want to do. So you can still, you don't cut them off like that is what I'm trying to say. It's pretty much. So that's pretty much it. But, I looked at it, I rolled my eyes. I was just like, all right, this is the Xbox. Okay. Get the whole vision together first, please. Fully, I'm talking about, I want it optimal because it's the correct vision, man. It's just, you got to be optimal, baby. I want to tell Joe Normal, bro, all you got to do is turn that on, Joe. That's it. You good. You lit. Yeah. Instead I got to give them a crash course in all these things that will work, and what peripherals you do have and don't need. But that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah. On one front, I appreciate this ad, I think, more than most. I don't like Xbox's communication. This is very clear. People can get upset, and I get that, and we can get into that extra avenue. But my biggest disappointment with them this generation has been consistency. And at least now it feels like there is, whether it's buy-in or acceptance or coping, there is a unified, we're moving in this direction. Phil, with his Bloomberg interview last week, then this ad hits, no backtracking, just like, yeah, this is what we're doing. Good. I know it's very different for people, but people are tired of guessing. And I think knowing what Xbox is half the battle to their future success. It's just knowing what are you going to be, even if, and I think your assessment is really good, even if that vision is incomplete, what is Xbox? I think just that idea is what people need to know, because a lot of people don't. Like, okay, you're kind of multi-plat, you're kind of not, you're in on exclusives, you're kind of not, you're in on hardware, you have no real reason to be, et cetera, et cetera. So this makes it clear to me what they're doing. And I appreciate that. Look, as someone who's commentated on this company for almost half a decade now, it is great to have a sort of like fine line drawn where it's like, this is what we're doing. And we as pundits knew this already. However, I think the average Joe Normal was like asking the question, why do I want to own an Xbox? Or why do I want to be in this ecosystem? And I agree with what you said. I think the framing could have been better of like, to carry it another step, like you saying we go where you want. It's like your games go where you want. Like that, just sell the games, like sell the idea that Xbox is games available anywhere. And imagine if there is a world where they start to throw a PlayStation trailer in there, or a PlayStation in that trailer and a Switch in that trailer, what that's kind of like. I think it could be a little bit more powerful. I think where they're going will obviously benefit Xbox massively in the terms of just money made. Like that's already really clear with the games they're selling and how often they're selling. Like I think that much is obvious, but they need to be careful because that 30 plus million base on the series consoles now, that's not a guarantee they're carrying over, dude. You learned that a generation ago. That's not, you had a historical best generation with the 360. There wasn't that carryover into the one. It takes a couple of bad decisions and that's it. So they need to be very careful with the line they're walking of what I'm viewing with this advertisement is like, you console fans, you're going to stay with us. You've already bought in. And so you're going to stay with us. So next generation, we can count on you being there. Our eyes are looking, as Phil said, PC, cloud. We're going out here. We're going to grow that. And that 30 million is going to stay. I do think that could be kind of foolish. The other thought is because of cloud gaming, which they strongly believe is going to be a big part of the future, is, okay, we have 30 million users with the Series X right now. Okay, 30 plus million. Because of cloud streaming, even if they never upgraded their tech, they have access to Xbox games by default. Because they've mentioned Xbox One in the past of like, yeah, you can stream on that thing and access games there. I mean, I don't know who really is, but the idea is there and it's been talked about enough where it's like, this is what they're viewing it as. Like how many, that's why to Jimbo's question, they're going to keep putting devices out there because they're trying to build a lineage of devices that you could break out the old fucking dusty Xbox One and stream Starfield, I guess, if you really wanted to. That's their mindset, it seems, that as the internet develops, as technology develops, that you'll be able to pull out this old dusty whatever whenever you want, and you'll be able to access Xbox games. And based on the money they're probably seeing, the revenue they're seeing from multi-platform sales, they're like, this is all that really matters to enable what we want to do. I think they just need to be very careful with that aggression because you do not want to alienate the console base who's going to get you to the PC. Yes. But also, again, you're totally right. The functionality of something like PC development on your app just isn't, it somehow isn't there, dude. I remember when Carrick was on the show, we were still like, this app sucks. Mm-hmm. The fact that it historically has barely been touched. The biggest changes have been the compact mode, right? The how long to beat integration, I think is really awesome. I want to see that on consoles. Those are the main two that come to mind. But in the terms of performance, download speeds, navigation, finding what you want, patches, it just, these sorts of things feel few and far between. So it's frustrating to see them be like, yeah, we're champion PC growth. I'm like, how? Right. Putting Avowed on BattleNet, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
Cloud gaming, I'm seeing way more significant strides in both functionality and presentation. Like that is way more appealing to me. Like I will game 10 out of 10 times, no exaggeration, on cloud gaming before I use Xbox's PC app. It's just way more appealing, way more user friendly, et cetera, et cetera. I just think what they got going on PC needs a dramatic overhaul. And maybe that's what's taking so long. But if this is you trying to start that, like they say right here, it's about PC, it's about cloud, and it's about making our games available more places. You need to make the desire to want to be in those places, right? And like mobile storefront, that's going to be key. And I think a lot of it does hinge on that mobile storefront. Like I think that UI is going to carry over into the new PC app. And I think that's going to be your Xbox handheld UI. Like I think that mobile storefront, that might have been why it was delayed. You know, that was like, that could be the heartbeat of so many things moving. Yeah. So I don't know, but I like that they're being clear and that's good. I think they just need to be careful now because like, okay, there's no questions now. There's no question marks. Like, remember again, 7 months ago, we're sitting here, multi-platform, what's going on with Xbox, 4 games. And there's a lot of like, there's no longer that fighting amongst the community of like, you guys are just dooming for views. Like they're not going to bring these games over. And it's like, no, they've like firmly stomped out the narrative, in my opinion. Like these games are going. It's a matter of when. Yeah. Maybe some don't because of budget. Maybe some don't because of like necessity. Some games just don't come to Xbox because they're like, we don't think people will buy it. Maybe they have that moment where like, we don't think PlayStation and Switch users will buy this, so we're not going to spend the time and money porting it. I don't know. But yeah, dude, it's an interesting time for Xbox, to see this this push. And if they have a Game Awards presence, I imagine this ad will be front and center.
Mm. No, it's interesting because I like you said in reference to obviously the transparency part, right? Which is what we were begging from them, and we felt they owed the base after the business update. You owe your base, okay, you can't play this, we're just experimenting game, right? You what are you doing? Now, me and you, the Dukes knew, oh, it's on. Everything's come. Don't fool yourselves, base. You know what I'm saying? Their eyes are elsewhere. They're looking to grow. And now we finally got, this is the level of transparency we wanted on the direction. So you're right. For the letter of the law, the direction is now, what was it? No red line, right?
Yeah.
Everything could be potentially on the table. Now, I will say, I still think there's a huge part of them that is figuring this out. I do not believe they have, bulletin boards for every year on every release on when it's going to go to. I don't believe. I think they're still figuring this thing out. But I like the fact that you rip the Band-Aid off and you say, look, anything can happen. So there's nothing that's off limits though, right? So you stop the false expectations of whatever, right? Now, I will always push back. Core identity with what made you, I think you need to still protect that. We're expanding everything else. Now, maybe that doesn't make business sense, you know what I'm saying? And I'm firmly aware of that. I understand that Halo everywhere would probably make the most revenue or that. Fair. I will always fight for your soul and your identity. You know what I'm saying? There are certain things that make you. Be careful with that and don't push so hard. But yeah, Call of Duty or whatever, fine. You know what I'm saying? Or Bethesda, they were third party before you. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool. Like, I get that. I'm not about just mad that it's over at another platform. That's not what I'm at. I just want to make sure that you remain you. But to your other point, in reference to now that the Band-Aid is ripped off, I will say that even though I think you nailed it best, which is like, we what was it the line you said with the games? You said the games go. You said it better than
me. Your games go wherever you go.
Yeah, the games go wherever you go. I love that. See, why I know that the marketing still didn't do everything it was supposed to do, even though it ripped the Band-Aid off, is why Phil got to come outside to Rolling Stone afterwards and say, yo, we're not abandoning console.
Yeah.
We're not, because there was still a fear. There's still the hardcore base that made you still like, you're getting rid of it. You're literally trying to go away from it completely. And the fact that they had to reiterate, no, we're still making the handheld and we're still doing hardware after that to show that there was still some issue. Because some people were mad on social media about this. There were people that were not. Me and you were already accepting this. Yeah, there are people that are Joe Normal, like, oh, yo, what's this? Where's the Xbox at? I don't see it in the marketing. Some people were freaking out, kind of thing. So it is interesting, but at least to your point, overall, know what you're doing over now. And now we get it. I personally care about the games and playing on the best service that I enjoy. So I'm fine, but I think they needed to explain this correctly to their fans. So we got that part at least.
Yeah. Again, I always tell people, just look at Valve. I think there's a degree of there's just certain games that live exclusively on PC / their platform. And maybe that's what a Halo does. I wonder if there's a world where by nature of being multi-plat, more people are going to look at Xbox games out of curiosity of is this something I want to buy? And that could timed exclusivity for Xbox be their key? Could it be we'll bring stuff over eventually, kind of like we know PlayStation eventually will bring stuff to PC. You don't really know when. Does Xbox adopt that strategy where it's that's why they're probably saying we're still doing exclusives, but you can access these exclusives in as many places as we want you to outside of our direct competitors, maybe immediately, right? We have to remember with these games that were brought over, Hi-Fi Rush was just a year old. That was very quick. I think by the time it released, it was over a year old though. It was year and 3 months. So just a thought on that is that maybe they feel multi-plat will draw that intrigue of this new developer direct coming on, right? What are our predictions? We're thinking it's going to be South of Midnight. We think Fable's going to be there. Fable being the big one. I don't know if Avowed would be there. That's, if it's in January, you're going to do a developer direct for something in February.
But you do got to promote because it is a February release.
Yeah.
So it is, I know it, but it's right. I know what you mean, but yeah, to your point, their 2025 is pretty stacked. I don't know if you heard Jez Gordon's latest comments on Fable.
Yeah, you were saying it looks good.
Looks pretty amazing. And I heard there's a male protagonist as well. From a character creator standpoint. Once again, they look like they have the shotgun blast this year, right? And then they look like they have, a great 2025. So the games are there, and it's just a matter of now. At least one thing about this, it's out there now.
Yeah.
No confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To my point, I feel like that developer direct can be a moment where more people tune in because they know, like, okay, this might come to PlayStation eventually. Just like PC viewers or players will look at Spider-Man 2 and be like, hey, eventually you'll get there. Let's check out these reviews and see like if this is any good.
Get more interest in the brand based on the strategy. I see you going.
Yeah, so maybe that's part of the play is like, okay, commit to these games are going to be anywhere. Again, it goes to what you started this all off with is like they committed to a strategy that's also like number one, half baked, and number two wasn't really focused on the games, but rather that your hardware is everywhere and that the identity of Xbox is different from that. Like it was a little confusing in that regard. So they're being more clear, but again, this is going to continue to evolve, but they're committing. That's the difference, right? This because it's one thing to have it in a Bloomberg interview, right? Like we've seen Phil walk back on his words plenty of times. This is a commercial, bro. Like this is, I guarantee again, I feel pretty strongly this will be at the Game Awards, and you're now putting that in front. Remember, like the Game Awards pull insane numbers if it gets there, and that is a good place to kind of blast the idea of like, what's an Xbox? And Xbox had a great presence at the Game Awards last year, so if they have another great presence this year with that ad, the message is different.
Yeah.
So, do you expect them to be at the Game Awards in a big capacity this year? It's not as big of a talking point since they kind of satiated fans. Like, remember they kept missing, and people were like, "What's going on, fam?" Now they're here in last year's Game Awards. But there's not really any talk because I think the expectation is, January we'll get the developer direct. So, do you think we see anything from them?
It's interesting because there's a part of me that I had heard that internally they did not like how the Indiana Jones thing was handled.
Oh, the one more thing?
I heard that they were not happy at all. But see, what I say is that's still your fault because at the end of the day, Xbox, you own Bethesda, and at the end of the day, Bethesda someone has to sign off to allow him to run and do that, right? Mm-hmm. So again, we laughed about it when we me and you podcasted in person. We did Duke Live together, about the other dudes, what I'm saying, on stage. I was a wild time, right? So the question is, does your anger permit you from promoting? And we do know, regardless how anyone feel, Jeff, like you said, is the biggest eyes in town on that event. The sponsorships, the opportunity for visibility is there. So look, they've got a big year next year. Like we said, South to Midnight, Doom, you know what I mean?
That was what I was forgetting. Doom. I was like,
bro, Doom is like, this is insane. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Avowed, which we just talked about, we're really up even more. Like we're raving about, like, yo, this is looking solid. Let's see if they execute again. You know what I'm saying? And the more we see it. So there's a part of me that's like, you got to play the game. You could be mad all you want, but you got to give him something. You know what I'm saying? And they gave him, he was happy with OD because clearly Kojima, you know what I'm saying? That's
he was happy to take that one.
He was happy to do that one, you know what I'm saying? But my gut, if gun in my head, I think they're going to give him something. I think they'll give him they'll have the typical advertising. Like last year, there was Game Pass advertising, I think, sprinkled in. I think we may see, like you said, a good prediction would be to see if this is an Xbox filtered in there, right? To let the masses know about it more. Mm-hmm. But I do think you may get like one or two little game reveals, the things they're working on. You know what I'm saying? And then you run into the top of the year with a developer direct, and then you do more focused on what's happening in 2025, which is a massive 2025 for them. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, right on. We'll see. I feel like it'd be a good time to announce those games like we've heard about, like the Wu-Tang Clan game, right? Like be a good time to show that. Yeah. What about Contraband? Is Contraband still real? Like, is that still happening? I really wonder about that. There's a lot. There's a lot.
There's still a lot to talk today. We could know about, like, what's going on with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll see. But any extra thoughts here on this is an Xbox advertisement card?
We are here now. That's all. Like it's Band-Aid ripped.
Yep.
Let's get to it now. Let's get to the games.
Well, let's also get to talking about acquisitions, Cog, because Sony is looking into purchasing Kadokawa Corporation within the next couple of weeks, according to a report by Reuters. Kadokawa oversees key developers like From Software, Spike Chunsoft, and Acquire, ironic name there, but also a large share of the anime industry with shows like ReZero, Overlord, and Oshi no Ko. Keep in mind, Sony already owns both Crunchyroll and Funimation with Kadokawa in hand. It will give them a death grip on anime across the board. Adam Razik writes in, hello, Duke gentlemen. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the rumor that Sony is looking to acquire Kadokawa, who owns the majority of From Software and wholly owns Spike Chunsoft. Well, I think it makes sense from a game standpoint, given Sony's history with both developers. I am concerned about the stranglehold that Sony seems to be increasing on the anime and manga markets. Their efforts with anime streaming in particular is the textbook definition of a monopoly to me, and acquiring Kadokawa would make that even worse. Thank you. I hope you both are doing well. Thank you, Adam, for writing in. So, Lord Acquisition, I want to hand this to you. Does this put the fear of God in you that your beloved From Software will be in the clutches of Sony soon?
Lord Acquisition reporting, Sony making a very, very interesting move. If the rumors are to be true, I think Kadokawa making a statement today, kind of like, hey, just letting you know that, something was offered, someone offered, but we have not decided nothing. Don't listen to anything till we, So look, the flirting is there. The question is, I remember at one point Sony was interested in Paramount, right? We had to see, that one didn't especially transpire. But I will say, look, it makes sense for what they're trying to do, right? Here's the thing. They've already, like you said, or Adam said, the Crunchyroll and and then the Funimation part, right? They're going to try to add that. Now, I'm not the anime guy, but they are a juggernaut in anime. Aren't they Dragon Ball as well?
No, that's Shueisha.
That's Shueisha. Okay.
Yeah.
They got another IP that's like super huge. I'm like, wow, that's
I
pretty,
can grab them for you.
Yeah, they've got a lot of big IPs from my understanding in anime. So this would be, massive. And then you see them making the push there. The way I look at it is like they're looking at.
They did Your Name. Oh my God.
Which one?
Your Name's an amazing movie. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, they've got some joints, man. So I think that the way I internalize it is them looking at this additional, revenue source and trying to control that. Now, I think what everyone's really concerned about is, and I even see Nintendo players concerned about, is obviously the From Software. You're trying to own the parent, right? You own the parent From. So the question becomes, okay, you own the parent. If this happens, Elden Ring, which was very complicated. I think Bandai Namco was the publisher, saying Tencent has a percentage on, some things here. We got to see the logistics, but I am under the impression that if you own the parent, you do what you want, right? So if you own it, do you make From Software games exclusive? Do you kind of set up an Elden Ring 2 exclusive to PS6? You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. These are the questions. And me personally, I feel it doesn't make business sense, because at the end of the day, you still will be losing out on the PC and the Xbox markets if you do that. Now, I can understand, somebody say, well, what if they do time exclusive? Maybe, they may do that if this is the case. Look, this is a big deal. The consensus I'm seeing online is people are not liking this. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. I totally understand. My only concerns is how. I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, Sony's broke or something. I'm not saying that. They got money. They can get cash in and stuff like that. But I am curious of how much a financial hit this puts on them if, they do go ahead with it. So I was surprised to see it. We'll see if it comes to fruition. Obviously, I'm not going to, the sun is, sky's not falling for me. But I know people who love these games and they don't want them to be, exclusive. You know what I'm saying? I don't have those ties to From Software games that. So this really doesn't affect me, but I am empathetic to people like, yo, I don't want them to have a quote unquote monopolistic energy towards anime, right? I respect that, right? And I respect people who like, yo, From, I think shout out to my Nintendo, like From has a lot of relationships with Nintendo and other games, stuff like that. And people are like, yo, that's going to affect that, so people are upset and I get it. So We shall see, but I'm curious for how you feeling here.
Yeah, I'm
Are
learning in real time here that Sony also has Aniplex, which is another. It's like a Japanese animation studio. They have A1 Pictures and Cloverworks, Crunchyroll, Funimation, growing Kadokawa.
We got to call Linda Khan. What are we doing?
They acquired Doga Kobo in July. Kadokawa did. So if they had them, they'd have that. As an anime studio, they have Angie, Studio Kadan, Raging Bull, and the newly formed Bell Knox Films, as well as the affiliated companies Cinema Citrus and Studio Chizu. Kadokawa's publishing companies include Kadokawa Key Process, which handles the imprints ASC to MediaWorks, Enterbrain, Fujimi Shobo, and Media Factory, as well as Kadokawa Game Linkage, which publishes B-Log, Comptique, Dengeki, Nintendo, and Weekly Famitsu.
Oh, that's Famitsu?
Yeah. J-Yavo Club and Yen Press. And then obviously the games we talked about.
Media arm right there.
And funny enough, Sony would then own the site I'm reading this from, Anime News Network, who's owned by Kadokawa.
Wow.
So this will be interesting because it'll be a battle for anime, but this is people aren't going to like me here. You have a case here where I'm like, they kind of have fucking everything in anime, bro. Like, you got to raise an eyebrow at this. There's plenty of studios beyond these, but when you have the two streaming services that have now been folded into one, you have your own set of studios, you have a major producer in it all. I'm like, damn, bro. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. So I know Grimblade, who's been a long time patron of mine and listener of Defying Duke, was really like, this is bad. Like,
how's people taking it? Anime.
He was he was adamant. He's like, I use it reference for him because he is, I think, much more knowledgeable about like the anime industry than I. Right. I know anime, but when it comes to industry, like, this dude was like, yeah, like, I can speak to at least like a lot of people bought stuff on Funimation, and that's gone now. Like, when they folded in, like, people lost like legacy media with that. Wow. So it's been bad for anime in that way. And there's been some serious concern about, like, we don't want all of this under Sony. Like, folding in Funimation, people don't think was good. I think the Funimation app, as someone who's a subscriber of both for years, I think Funimation's app was fucking terrible, dude. Terrible. I do like Crunchyroll way more. Always went for Crunchyroll, but PlayStation having all of this would be problematic in my opinion. I don't know if like Block-Gear merger type, problematic, but that's a lot of control over an industry I care a lot about. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. I'm still going to watch anime and enjoy it, but I want to talk about the games.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Dude, sneaky good get here in Acquire. Co-developers of Octopath Traveler. And I think that this is a team that they're fortifying their strengths. You're getting like all this Japanese talent. Spike Chunsoft, guess what they just made?
Talk to me.
Sparking Zero.
Oh, that's the hit of the thing. That's the talk of the town.
Only wants a piece of that. Oh, you're going to be making they. By the way, it's not a one-off. They've been making anime games for a while. Not many of them were very good, but you're going to be making Dragon Ball games. Anime piece of the pie, bro. They are leaning into their sensibilities. From Software speaks for itself. Of course, that's the major talking point. Everyone's going to talk about, well, it needs to happen now. We need Bloodborne 2. That's what everyone thinks needs, or a Bloodborne remake, remaster, whatever it may be. But I do think Acquire is like, as a massive Octopath fan, again, they co-developed with different business divisions within Square Enix for each of Octopath 1 and 2. But that is a really good team there. And that would be a sneaky good get for PlayStation. They also made the mobile game Octopath Champions of the Continent. So I think there's a lot here that it's a massive win for PlayStation if they actually get this. You look at FromSoft, whatever they do next is going to sell stupid well. Bro. Take it to the bank, right? So PlayStation gets a cut of that, just like you think of that like the Call of Duty, but everything beneath it has extreme value for them as a Japanese company, especially. The amount of, because it's subtle, right? Everyone's talking about From Software, but like many people don't know that about Spike Chunsoft and like the anime games that they work on and the amount of money PlayStation would get from like Dragon Ball sales. That's huge. JRPG sales, I won't oversell too much with something like Acquire, but They're going in on entertainment beyond what's going on with their gaming division. And I think that's what keeps them in a spot where this will probably go through.
That's what I was thinking.
Because I think Sony's overly dependent on their gaming subsidiary, and you look at this here, and it's like, well, they get to fortify something here that they can lean on. In fairness, balances them out as a company a little bit more, which is what was kind of happening with Xbox, right? With all they own, they were not generating a lot of revenue, as we learned, and then they get Activision Blizzard, and all of their revenue turns around.
And they had no footprint in mobile, which they needed, right? So I'm with you, not to interrupt, but it's listen, I get the concerns, and I'm not going to, even though I'm Lord Acquisition, I'm never going to minimize how people feel about monopolistic tendency, or they're really against this. But I'm just talking about from Sony's perspective. If you're Sony, a lot of this is synergistic for you. And I look at, we have to admit, the Souls genre has taken over. Like the fact that we have a DLC in the mix lets you know how the virality.
I think it's sold over 5 million copies, the DLC.
Bro, we literally have a subgenre called Souls-like as a result of From Software. They have literally pushed and there seems to be no slowing down on that level of excitement for these titles. We see, even your beloved Lies of P, and everyone is taking part of that playbook because everyone loves it. I look at the streamers like Akai Sinet and all these guys getting into this thing, and streaming Souls games for the first time and bringing virality to the genre. And then I look at what you said. I am not an anime guy, but to me, if I'm Sony, I look at it and say, hey, if we are not ahead of the curve on the future of the games industry, and let's say we have a banana peel slip here and there, guess what we got? Literally anime. And remember, this is Sony Pictures. These are the people, their background has been, movies and stuff like that. So all I'm just trying to understand is corporate cog understands why they're doing it. That's all I'm saying. Whether you want to disagree with it, that's fine. And you bring up the terrors and the concerns about something that could happen, fair. I will not push back on that. But I understand why they doing this if they do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a smart get for them. Apologies if you're my dog. It's a smart get for them. And I think it's a good move to kind of fortify some strengths they have, and they'll make a lot of money off this deal. Like, this is all wins, in my opinion.
Last question, because you're the anime dude. I want to be empathetic, even though I'm Lord Acquisition. I need to be empathetic. And this is a field I am not as educated. What are your main concerns as a person who loves anime? You watch all these shows. You're telling me about Bleachy Bleach. That's the joke I always say. I get the anime guys upset. I always mess up their names on purpose just to annoy them. So you watch Bleachy Bleach. You watch all these things. The blue head bang that's out there. So like, what's the concern? Like, what's your homie saying? Like, yo, why is it bad? Like, why do they feel like, yo, please don't do this?
I think number one, there were really two dominant streaming platforms. To have it kind of purchased by one company and folded in to just one streaming service kind of gives them this level of control over what kind of gets in and out.
Okay.
And I think there's a concern on that level of like, okay, this is the one-stop shop in town, which is not great. I view it kind of like, right now I view it as like the WWE. No one was talking until AEW really came in. No one was like talking about wrestling broadly. Like, you'd have WCW or TNA and they kind of fizzle in and out, right? But AEW so far, at least, although their shows have not been performing well, AEW's been at least a stronger competitor that pushed WWE to do some better, more exciting things, competition, right? This just kind of, I think, eliminates a lot of that, where every bit of anime business kind of goes through PlayStation. Maybe not in the terms of shows made, but everything has to run through this company and their services to reach an audience. And I think that is one concerning bit. Again, the loss of media for a lot of people is concerning. Like, will I be able to hold on to the new stuff you're adding in? Creative constriction, of course, is another concern. If like you're the one-stop shop we're running through, how tight that's going to be based on Sony's previous censorship in the past, right? With like things they've done on PlayStation, that sort of thing. So I think there's a concern on that level too. Like, will some business practices from gaming fizzle in to their film,
there was
TV, anime.
censorship with the stuff going on.
Like, think for example, what happened with they went through a stretch of it. It was Devil May Cry 5. I think it was with the blurred out cheeks.
Yeah.
And
but you got Stellar Blade out here with the yams.
Don't get me wrong. This is where I'm hearing the talks on the streets, and I'm sure there's more I might be missing, right? I'm not saying all of it's valid, but I think PlayStation has shown willing horniness for sure. In the case of a game like Starfield, did you see that fucking Nier DLC, bro?
Bro, that's wow.
I know Yoko Taro's loving that, bro.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of meat on the table with a lot of this content.
My god, bro. I'm excited to play it, but yeah, holy shit.
Excited to play.
Yeah, so I think that is the general feel I got. Is that they just have a lot of control in a particular industry where you're just kind of left with development studios and like,
got you.
Like, imagine if, I think the way people are kind of looking at it is, imagine if when it came to gaming, everything ran through PlayStation. There really wasn't any other major streaming service available, any major competition. You just only posted your games on PlayStation. That's kind of the idea.
Competitive balance. And yeah, I got you.
So,
and then a fear of how they would handle, because you mentioned, I think, was it Crunchyroll? Is it an interface that was better? The way you,
Crunchyroll, I really like just the organization, just kind of favoriting things, the streaming quality, even the app doesn't crash. I remember because like what happened is you would have deals made, like exclusive deals, like Dragon Ball, you'd find on Funimation. There was simulcast on Funimation as well, which now Crunchyroll does a better job of. But what that meant was that you used to get Japanese episode if you wanted to watch the translated version, or you wait a week and English VA would come out.
Gotcha.
And so like those little things, like where I'd have a subscription to both and like go check out Dragon Ball on one service, then move to the other. But I will say, bro, firing up that Funimation, I'm like, here we go. Like
really,
I never liked using it. Yeah, I don't know if people agree with that or not, but sometimes I thought it was just easier to watch on our browser because at least I had like the direct line, but that thing was crashing constantly. Yeah.
Well, fair enough. I'm glad you explained it. Help me understand. Because again, I am definitely ignorant to the anime scene and the complexities of it. So I like to, get the feedback from people who are really knowledgeable about the industry in that respect. Because all I can really relate to mostly is the game stuff. But I understand the importance. This is really about the anime. And it reminds me of like...
Yeah, when it comes to gaming, they're fine. I think like this doesn't, I think, worry anyone at all. Like I mean, in terms of PlayStation and exclusivity, but I mean, that's like a given. Like, that's why I'm just looking at it from a business perspective. Like, yeah, they're going to fucking lock this shit down. Are you kidding me? I'd be so surprised if they, after how bad Bungie went for them, I would be stunned if their next acquisition was like, we have From Software and we're giving it to everyone. By nature of like how much revenue they thought they were going to make through Bungie and how good they thought it was going to be, and they weren't going to change anything. They probably learned there, like, it's our way or the highway.
I mean, but you leaving all that money on the table? You ain't going to get that piece.
They'll do their staggered release.
Okay, so you say stagger. You say exclusive just to promote, and then you get that a year later, 2 years. Okay, okay. That's who you're going to.
Dude, I mean, look, the PS5 Pro is selling fine. The Portal sold really well. They just dropped a great, funny enough, cloud streaming update on it. Like,
yes, I heard it's really good.
Yeah. Watch out. Yeah, they have a really good ecosystem building here. PS Plus Premium is really starting to gain traction as like a good competitive service to Game Pass, where people are excited about what classics they're adding every month. What are they giving trophies to? What are the free games have even been great, man.
They've been good. Yeah, I saw like Legacy of Kain and
Other Dreads. I was like, gotta tip the cap, man. And so people are really in on that ecosystem where they want to fortify that. And what has fortified that is great Japanese content. And honestly, I think some PlayStation fans are going to look at that and go like, sweet, you guys closed down teams like Studio Japan, like walked away from so much of that Japanese talent. Buying it in whole, I know would probably piss Colin off.
Oh, I'm dying.
I'm very excited to Colin's take on it, for sure.
I don't think Colin going to be about this.
Yeah, no, 100% not. Because it doesn't reek of a lesson learned with the not building. You could, I mean, there is, I would say, historically speaking, you have the similar relationship between PlayStation and From Software that I think like Bethesda Game Studios and Xbox had, where it's like you had these moments of like crossing, like, oh, Demon Souls, Bloodborne.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I think it makes sense on that level. Like I think
Demon
it's a
Souls
fit.
exclusive. Remember, in the beginning, they've been flirting. They've been bedfellows for a while.
Yeah.
This ain't unnatural. It's similar to, but you made the perfect analogy. It's similar to Microsoft and Bethesda. They used to flirt all the time.
Yeah. So I think it's smart that they're doing this, and it fortifies Japanese content, which does really well for them. And maybe in these past acquisitions they made, they realize like this is an audience we need to keep. We need to make sure we have on our platform exclusively things that appeal to them. So,
last point: how powerful would it be? PS6. Sorry, King. I know you on your hashtag new pick, but I've always fought you on that one. They're coming out with a PlayStation 6. But 6 Elden Ring 2 launch title.
If they do an Elden Ring 2, that'd be hilarious.
Right, you moving console.
I think they do. If you're gonna do a launch game, I don't think it would time out well because I think their next game is going to be Sekiro. Like I do think it's going to be a Sekiro sequel. It just feels like the right time to do it. Because I feel like Elden Ring was like, I mean, Miyazaki said himself, like, that was like one of our biggest games yet, but we're not quite to the peak yet. And I think it's because you lack the mechanical fighting depth that Sekiro has in spades. And if you can get that scale, scope, exploration, questing, everything that Elden Ring did, and pull in a combat system like Sekiro on top of it, that's tough to match, bro. That is a magnum opus there. So I think they go back to Sekiro, relearn the game there, elevate it, and then their next big one, bring it there. But I say all that because I think in a perfect world, if PlayStation really wants to be like, how do we create buzz?
Oh, yeah.
Bloodborne. In whatever capacity you want it.
Bro.
The launch system, Bloodborne remake, which it worked fine for Demon's Souls, so I think it'll work perfectly fine for Bloodborne. Bloodborne 2 would be the holy shit moment.
All you gotta do is put a GIF.
Yeah.
At one of the showcases.
That is the New Vegas 2 for them. That is literally, that is why it's valuable to get them. Like Xbox, we've talked about it. They have the title card internet breaker. And now PlayStation can have it too.
Yes, absolutely.
They both have the ace up the sleeve.
Gotta see how this is gonna play out.
Yeah.
Very interesting times.
We'll learn in a couple weeks, it seems.
Yeah.
All right. Next up here, Cog. Avowed is coming to Battle.net and it's getting 5-day early access in its premium digital edition. We have some write-ins here, Cog. Starting off with SFish616, who says, "Hey, Dukes, Avowed pre-orders got announced, and to the chagrin of physical media enjoyers, it was revealed that it wouldn't be getting a proper physical release, with the closest being a steelbook with a code in it for $95. This really set me back for a moment and made me do some self-reflection. I love physical media, in particular games. This made me a little sad. Xbox has been consistent with physical releases for their big games this gen until now. Now, I know this is most of Xbox's physical releases are no better off than coasters on a table, but at least they still tried a little bit. Now they are throwing in the towel. I know digital is the future, but I was still trying to hold on to the past in a way. Matty, as a fellow physical lover, do you have any tips? What is your mindset with physical versus digital games? Cog, what is your mindset with this exactly? Thanks and have a good day." Now, to wrap this up in a little bow, because it'll kind of answer your question here, S-Fish, we had another write-in from Zip Davis. "Hello, BBD, Big Beefy Dukes. Dukes, a fellow physical game player needs your help. I cannot for the life of me find out if the new Indiana Jones game is actually on the disc and playable offline. I know for a fact the Steelbook comes with just a code, but there's been no news on the standard edition. I really want to support the game day one, but will I be forced to wait and hopefully see the PS5 version be complete on disc? I hope you both have a great day and let out a big ooh-wee from me. Thank you, Zip Davis." So yeah, on the front of Avowed and Xbox, I mean, I've tried to prep our audience as best they can, and I'm not trying to tell you to lie down and give up, but I kind of am too, is like, you're not getting Xbox games physically. Since Halo Infinite, they've been coasters. Like, this has been long, unfortunately gone. That's why when a limited run stepped down, like, hey, we're doing a physical release. Yeah, there you go. Starfield, the code and a cred stick. That's all you get. When limited run came outside, they're like, hey, here you go. Here's Pentiment. I bought that shit for Switch because I know that that's going to be preserved over there. Like, that is a good place to own that game. As much as it made sense, let me get it on Xbox. It's where I played it. It's where I completed it. I'll probably never play it again. It's like, I'm getting it on Switch because this is where I own it. It's safe here, right? But unfortunately for Xbox, this has been like 3 years running now. These physical games, Starfield was a coaster. Like they just hold shelf space so that you see it when you're in the store and go like, oh, what is that? I want to buy that. Like that's all it serves for them now. And for you, unfortunately, is like you may as well, when you're in the store, when you see an Xbox game that interests you, go home and download it instead. You know, like that's real. My physical game collection for my Xbox is just, by the way, specifically series consoles. It's considerably smaller because I just don't. I don't bother. I'm like, that's like I'm not. I love physical collecting, but I'm not deluding myself by like saying like, oh, if I buy it physically, like I'm supporting it differently. It's like no, these like this shit goes out like that. I don't have my game. The servers decide to pop off. Nope, no game. So just a heads up for those who are on Xbox, like, you know, especially that this is an Xbox. That works well in the digital realm because this phone is an Xbox and I don't see a disk drive on this thing.
So, you can't put the disc in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they'll jump in. Yeah, look, physical bros. Come on now. Y'all know what time it is. Stop it. I mean, like, I love y'all. Shout out Zip with the Drip. Shout out to S. I love you guys. You know damn well what ecosystem you in. You know damn well they are not about that physical. And they literally, like I said, we just told you, like, you know, look at the thing that when a reality hit for me was like seeing some of the Circana data and seeing so much of the digital splits and how many people bought an S and how many people consume their media and the way they consume it. They have the data. You know, I'm always going to be in support of the physical bros and the fact that I wish it would exist, but that's not the ecosystem you're in, bro. They are not doing it. When you literally have this is an Xbox campaign, that's where this is going. To me, where their value is the play anyway. Where you get something from them digitally, you get that entitlement on multiple devices. That to me is dope. And you have to lean in on that if that's that's the ecosystem you're a part of. And, you know, all I'll say to it is that, like, you have, you know, I mean, I want to get to the Avowed part because this is very important.
Sure.
But like, to me, where I feel is we got to put pressure on Xbox is one, the entitlements, making sure our games that are not Game Pass have those rights and digitally available and everywhere. Also, what you brought to my attention last, Duke, when you see in GOG stepping out like, yo, we're digital, but we got preservation over here. We update over here. You will not lose your stuff. I want Xbox challenge them to have a similar stance. Put meat on the table and say, okay, you're doing digital with us, but you ain't never got to worry about this really going away with our core stuff. That's how you get the confidence up to say, okay, you know what, Xbox, I'm going to do digital. Because Steam is out here moving, right? They've been digital for a while. You don't buy PC discs anymore. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's that level of confidence and consumer trust and preservation that the digital will be there. That's what Xbox, that's the next evolution for this is an Xbox vision. Yeah, you need to ensure your base. Yeah, this is an Xbox and it ain't going to go nowhere when you buy it with us. So that's that.
Well said.
Let's get to the main event. This is what I've been dying to talk about. This battle net thing with Avowed is very interesting.
I have a write-in for you.
Please do. Set us up.
Beloved Emperor writes, hello, Dukes. With the news that Avowed is launching on Battle.net and people with PC/Ultimate Game Pass, how dare you get that confused, beloved Avowed or Emperor? How can you do that? Game Pass Ultimate can play the game through Battle.net instead of the Xbox PC app. Did the Dukes think this will be Microsoft's solution in the short term to the woes of the PC app, at least for first-party titles? Enjoy the podcast each and every week. P.S. I hope you both have a Duncan died for this kind of day. We love a little Veilguard slander. Thank you, beloved Emperor. All right, Cog. Fire away.
Bro, this is very interesting to me. Because I was like, okay, we know the whole Avowed history. Like you said, you know, technically this was supposed to be out now, right? You know, then we, at the time, in hindsight's 2020, so we got to be fair now. They thought Assassin's Creed was going to be here, right? You know, Stalker, and the whole, like, and then they already had Flight Sim in this tight window, so you got to let Avowed live. You moved to February. Now February happens. Like, damn, it is what it is. So what I look at it is this is a single-player game, Western RPG, but it needs chance to breathe to succeed, right? We know Game Pass. We know that's cool. But like we know it's around Kingdom Come Deliverance, around Monster Hunter, around all this other stuff. So we saw the first thing was like 5 days early, I believe, right?
Yeah, 5 days early.
5 days early. Okay, cool. You want to see get some interest, get paid people to jump in without having to do the Game Pass. You get that paid money. Cool. Battle.net is interesting because one thing we thought about, we always said, what was the quiet part of the acquisition was, they're acquiring ABK's storefront of Battle.net. How do they handle this? And we've all bemoaned and lamented about the Xbox PC app and updates and performance with UWP and stuff like that. But what if this is a play? What if this is a play to say, look, I don't know what the user base metrics are, the MAUs are. I'm just making up a number. Let's say it's, 30 million. And they buy WoW, they buy Diablo, they play COD over there. You put this on the storefront, what happens? Do we get people to say, you know what, like a Steam effect? Sorry, Xbox, we just don't like your app, but we're willing to play it over there. And I could speak from experience with Battle.net on this part. Now, PC Master Race Bros, you guys help me out. Back in the day, remember, I'm Destiny all day. Remember, they were acquired by Activate. I used to go to Destiny on Battle.net. And I'm going to be real with you, that experience was amazing. Till this day, still better than the Steam experience. I didn't have the crashes. I didn't have a lot of the problems that I had when they moved over and eventually went to Steam. What I'm saying is, from my understanding of the Battle.net app, from a security standpoint, it was always strong. And then also, I know that the WoW base is over there. And apparently there's some currency, Matty, with WoW that you can buy games on there. People be like, so the question is, what if they look at the data and say, look how many people are actually getting it over there versus our storefront? And Steam going by, because Steam is huge. Steam bros are like, all we do is buy over here because we love the level of support. The UI, the functionality is amazing. So you get Steam money, get the new Xbox, and if this Battle.net, and if we see more things coming to Battle.net, and the last point I'm curious is, not a throw in the towel moment, but what if the reason why the Xbox app is not being updated is because, and
that was one of our early ideas, yeah.
And you know what because if you've gone on the Xbox PC Game Pass app lately, which I have, bro, when you launch Diablo now, it literally makes you download Battle.net. And then it takes you to Battle.net to launch the game. Similar to the way EA Play. Like if you try to play Zal
as well. Yeah.
So it's like you're forcing the underlying client of Battle.net and then sending them there. Watch out. I think Xbox is up to something. They're either experimenting, or the reason why it's not being updated is maybe there is some form of an integration, and that becomes the de facto platform because they like, hey, you know what? We've done what we've done with the PC app. They don't like it. But hey, if they get the games over there, at least specifically with those Activision ABK titles, Call of Duty, Diablo, all the WoW stuff, and now you put first-party Xbox games in this storefront, and you start to get user engagement, watch out. This could be a play.
That's a very interesting thought. Yeah, it definitely feels like Avowed is in a situation where Xbox understands, like, clearly they're not delaying it. Clearly they're not. But they know, okay, we need everything we can get. So this is the longest early access period, I think, an Xbox exclusive has seen. I want to say Starfield had...
Yeah, Starfield had early, I think, right? Yeah.
Starfield, how many days was it? I think it was 5 as well.
Probably about 5.
I think it came out on the 6th, but you could start playing on the 1st.
Yeah.
So this is a lot. Combine that with a Battle.net release, which is like the first experiment, right? Like this game is a grand experiment for Xbox. Like, how does this do over there? Like, let's literally put it everywhere. Let's give it every chance it's got. Plus Game Pass, plus early, that early access, get that FOMO going, because Avowed comes out. Sorry, I got to double check the dates.
February 18th?
Yeah, Avowed comes out on February 18th. So the 13th, I believe, puts that on the same day as, let me just double check before I finish my sentence.
Same day as KCD2?
I think so.
Okay.
It is 2 days after.
So 2 days after KCD2. Okay.
And either way, it feels deliberate just by nature of forcing people to think before making a decision. Because by that point, both games' marketing will be done and you will have made your choice. And the gap is not that big between these two. I mean, they could have pushed it and said, let's give them it a week early.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Which, it would have been on the same day.
Right.
Would have been a big challenge there. But I mean, honestly, after covering a little bit of KCD2 and then playing Avowed, I'm like, wow, these two are about to go to war.
And these both feel good games,
Yeah.
bro. No one's backing down, and these are it feels like both are high quality.
Yeah, big time. So looking at all of that, I mean, this game is a huge experiment for Xbox, to really see, like, can delaying a game into a, quote, healthier window work? Can Battle.net help? Can early access, again, as they've done before, continue to help them when you extend that period to a point where you're challenging a direct competitor? I'm very interested to see the player numbers for this game, because obviously we won't get sales. I wish we would, but I'm very curious to get player numbers for Avowed and
absolutely
see how it fares.
And the uniqueness of a non-ABK game going on to a Battle.net service. That is very interesting.
There has to be a level of like, hey, Diablo's really popular. This is another fantasy spirited game. Maybe it draws some attention. I don't know. Like,
Pillars of Eternity Universe. You're trying to maybe capitalize. It's an interesting play.
Just tap into that base.
Is this a precedent? Maybe we even looking at it on a wider scale. Is this a precedent for other Xbox Game Pass game studio games? Because let's be honest, we know they could not have been happy with Hellblade 2's performance. Let's just put the elephant in the room, right? So, apology, I got somebody blasting music outside. But what I was going to say is, like, you try to maximize as much as you can, and like you said, the term you use as far as giving this thing the best chance to succeed as a single player type of game that's not multiplayer, no cooperative, no live microtransactions and stuff of that nature. So is this a play for just Xbox Game Studio games moving forward?
Yeah, generate those sales, generate that interest. Visibility, of course, seems to be something they're really targeting. If like this is an Xbox and this is anything to go by, and I'm curious if it does generate anything at all. Like, I really am curious to see if Battle.net kind of comes through for them, because it's a very peculiar pick. And because it's the first one in, it has the chance to gain the most before it becomes an expectation. So, very interested to see how Avowed affects all of that. All right. Last thing here, Cog. Coming soon to Xbox Game Pass, leaving Xbox Game Pass. We got them both for you. On November 20th, you get Little Kitty Big City on Game Pass Standard, Played Up on Game Pass Standard, and Stalker 2 will already have been out on Series X and S, PC, and cloud. Meanwhile, Nine Souls is on November 26th for console, PC, and cloud, and Aliens Dark Descent arrives on November 27th on console, PC, and cloud. Meanwhile, leaving Xbox Game Pass on the 30th of November, Conan Exiles, by the way, all of these leave console and PC. Conan Exiles, Coral Island, Remnant from the Ashes, Rollerdrome, Soccer Story, Spirit of the North Enhanced Edition, The Walking Dead, the final season, and While the Iron is Hot. All right, Cog, lots of additions, lots of exits here. What are we looking at with excitement or sadness?
Yeah, well, funny. Obviously, this is the big week for Flight Sim and Stalker 2, right? These are the shotgun blasting, right back to back.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So these are the big ones. Can't wait to obviously try Flight Sim now that the servers seem to be hopefully alleviated. Let's see how much I can play tonight. But and obviously Stalker 2, I was very curious to hear what you got to say about that. So that's how I look at it. That as far as what's leaving, Conan Exiles was decent. I remember I'm not the big sandboxy type game, but I remember playing that and having a decent time. A friend of mine, he goes extra hard on that. Shout out to my man Valakhan. He loves that game. So that's a big one. Walking Dead final season was interesting. I felt like, man, that series started off so hot, and then it kind of just hung around too long and did too much kind of thing. But I remember playing that game, so I would give people, say check that out, just for the sake. If you remember old school Telltale, I think you owe it to yourself to get like the conclusion of where they try to go with the story. But that was probably kind of it for me. Nothing else really resonated too much. What about for you going and coming in as far as Game Pass?
Yeah, obviously I've talked a lot about Stalker 2. I want to call out Nine Souls for those of you who kind of like, say, Hollow Knight, or you like Sekiro. This is a game that has some of that spirit in it, and it's a little bit slept on. So definitely give it a look if you're looking for something kind of 2D and challenging, for sure. I had a friend who was very much into Sekiro and was looking for Sekiro clones and played this and got stomped out by it. But yeah, if you're interested in this one, this is a good game to check out. Again, Sekiro inspired. So if you're looking for that. Leaving though, Rollerdrome, that one was really cool. Kind of like Tony Hawk, with like slow-mo diving and shooting. It was really interesting, really different. So just wanted to shout that one out as like a quick check it out before it goes. Good little indie game there. Don't miss out on that one.
Yeah.
But there's also another one here that we can talk about in our Game Pass pick of the week that Scott Holdsworth has the write-in on. I'll kick it to you, Cog, afterwards. He says, "Good day, my gentle dukes. I'd like to offer a Game Pass pick of the week. I played Alien Dark Descent earlier in the year. It was absolutely one of my favorite experiences this year. Tindalos Interactive absolutely nails the atmosphere of the Aliens franchise. It incorporates a clever gameplay system where killing xenomorphs actually puts you at a disadvantage as it eventually alerts the Hive. Throw in some XCOM-style troop progression and permadeath, and it's a winner in my book. Have a sorry, Phil, I have drawn my red line too kind of day." Thank you, Scott, for the write-in. Oh, that perk your ears up a little bit?
Yeah, I didn't know about no turn-based XCOM. Bruh, I didn't know about this. Once you said XCOM, you had me. I'm looking at it right. Oh, yeah, there's a clear inspirations. Wow. Shout out to my man. Who that? Scott from the Dukes? Shout out to Scott. I'm going to have to do the download on this. How long this leaving or this we keep it? This
is a keep. This is a recent
addition. Yes. Ooh, I thought this was leaving. All right, yes. Yep. This will get I'm looking at this right now. Bro, this XCOM right here.
I think I remember which one this is, but I'm just gonna look.
Yeah, this looking cool. I'm gonna give it a shot, bro. Thank you on this one. This is a cog like turn-based joint for sure.
A cog like, that is a genre unto itself.
Yeah, it's a cog like.
Oh yeah, look at this.
Yeah,
completely.
Looking at the video. Cool.
Well, Cog, you have Game Pass pick of the week. So what have you selected, sir?
Yeah, man. So look, obviously I wanted to talk about the new, but in fairness, like I said, you got a chance. I did get S.T.A.L.K.E.R earlier, and then obviously because of server issues, I cannot give a complete review of Flight Sim. So hopefully I'll have that for y'all next. Well, not a complete review, but at least an experience review, whether or not it's worthy of Game Pass. But as far as Matty hit me up. I said, man, I my mind already knew what I was gonna be my picks, and now I got this conundrum. He's like, go old school, Cog. I'm like, you know what, my boy, right? It's funny because birthday week, a couple of friends of mine are non-gamers, right? And I was catching up with people I haven't caught up in a while, and they came up to me and was like, "Yo, I want to shout you out, Cog, man. Remember that game you had me come over? You was like, I know you don't play games. I want you to try this game." He's like, "Yo, I put my whole family onto this game." Which one was this? He was like, Inside. I was like, yes, I've done the Lord's work. Inside. I mean, look, for most hardcore gamers, you already know about it. But if somehow you missed out on Inside, somehow you do not know what I consider the parent of this thing, of my favorite studio. Shout out to those guys that played that when they were together, when it was a nice, happy, married family. Yep. Everyone was getting along. They came out with Limbo first, and I still recommend that. But Inside is the pinnacle. And again, it's just, atmospheric storytelling, a little boy in this kind of dystopian world. And then again, it harkens back to one of my favorite games of all time. And one of my favorite games is called Another World. And that was made by this one gentleman. His name is Eric Chahi. I'm blessed that I got a chance to meet this man. He's a French guy. He made it on an Amiga. And that game changed my life. That is one of my, games that define you as a gamer. Because I was like, what is this? I'm being thrown on this alien planet. I don't know what's going on. And I got to figure things out. And it's not holding your hand, and you will die a lot. Inside feels like the spiritual successor to the next level, and then to the point where not only is the game so cool and dark and it doesn't hold your hand, but you get to interpret what you think is happening. Right. And it gives you a little bit of concentration camp vibes on certain things. It gives you a little bit of, what is happening in this world with this little boy? And then when you get to the end, it's just a mind-blowing situation. Like, okay, what did I just experience? What happened? And then I highly advise when you beat it, there's these globe-like objects throughout the game. And when you find, they're usually in secret locations, and you pop it, and then you get an achievement for finding them. If you find all of them, get an additional. And this additional ending is very retrospective. It is very worth a spoiler cast. Okay, what just happened now that I got this new nugget of information about what the overall experience could potentially be? And man, I literally love this game. I've recommended this game to so many people who are non-gamers because it's, hey, move the boy from left to right. But the cool thing about this game, where it is addicting, it is I see this with like my mom. She's watched me play, and people will help you try to do the puzzles. They'll be like, all right, well, move that switch there, and then let's see what happens. So you get people who don't even game to interact with it. It's just a beautiful experience. I know Phil loves this game. I love this game. Played that. I wish you were together, but I do support your efforts with, if you love Inside, then go support Somerville. If you love Inside, go support Concord. These are the children and the breakup, the marriage breakup, so to speak. But Inside is peak. This is pinnacle talent. To shout my boy Bontis, I put him on. He said, Cog, yo, you got me. I love this thing. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't played that Inside game, it's one of my favorite games of all time. And I love that when Xbox, I think they helped with the development or whatever, get this game out. And it's just super cool. But yeah, I had to shout out Inside for all this pick.
Right on. Great Game Pass pick of the week, Cog. Thank you, Scott, for your write-in. All right, Cog, it's time to wrap this one up. We're getting on out of here. Another busy week in the realm of the Dukes. Hashtag's a bit tougher, right?
Yeah.
We have a great headline, and this is an Xbox, but we also have Avowed and stuff. So what are you thinking?
I think we got to lean in. Wait, we could go like, what is it? This is a DD. I don't know. Like, how do you flip it, right? This is an Xbox DD? I mean, all week, Avowed is moving out here. I mean, that's a big one. I was happy that you liked Avowed.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Happy you liked it. But I don't know. We could go either way with that. Either way, what you feeling?
I would say I like this is a DD, like you were saying.
All right.
Yeah, this is ADD.
This is a DD. Yeah.
I'd love to hear from everyone on Twitter. I'm at G27status. Cog is at Lord Cognito. You can tag us there. You can also just write in the comment section. Just make sure either way you use the hashtag This Is ADD. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. We appreciate you listening all the way till the end. Cog, I'll see you next week. It's been another great episode with you, sir. And until then, stay safe until episode 204, and peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.